Wasatch Front.
This particular event will peak Thursday morning and Friday morning along the Wasatch Front. And the areas that will see the strongest winds are generally North Salt Lake to Ogden, and they really get going from Centerville all the way up to Layton.
KSL meteorologist Kevin Eubanks says we could see gusts of 45 to 65 miles an hour. The winds are expected to die down by Saturday, where we'll hopefully see highs in the 70s again. Several people are now looking for new cars after a big gust of wind knocked over a large tree in Holiday. KSL TV's Andrew Adams continues our team coverage, and he spoke to Troy Aldrich, whose car ended up under that tree.
I saw the tail end of my beautiful CX-5 smashed.
Multiple cars were caught underneath. And it wasn't until crews arrived that onlookers could finally see the extent of the damage.
What else can you do, you know?
The tree came down in the parking lot of the Cotton Bottom restaurant. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 74 points right now. That's 0.2%. We're at 38,962. Coming up in just a moment, we do have those winds to talk about, and we'll share the temperatures with you too. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Are you ready to start your journey as a small business owner? Ready to start something bold? Something groundbreaking? Utah is the startup capital of the world, and we're setting a new global standard for innovation and entrepreneurship. So if you're thinking about starting a new business or looking to grow an existing business, this is where you'll find the resources to make it happen. Visit startup.utah.gov today and start something here.
A slow network is no network for business. That's why more choose Comcast Business. And now we're introducing Ultimate Speed for Business, our fastest plans yet. We're up to 12 times faster than Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. And existing customers could even get up to triple the speeds at no additional cost. All from the company with 99.9% network reliability and advanced cybersecurity. It's ultimate speed from Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Don't miss out on our fastest speed plans yet. Get started with internet and security for $49.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year contract. Plus, ask how to get up to an $800 prepaid card with a qualifying internet package. Don't wait. Call 1-800-501-6000 or go to ComcastBusiness.com to switch today. In 62324, restrictions apply. New customers only with 150 megabits per second internet and security edge. Eco bill and auto pay required. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Compares Comcast Business 1.25 gig to 100 megabits per second of Verizon 5G Business, AT&T Wireless Broadband, and T-Mobile for Business. Up to 3 times download for existing essential and standard internet customers.
Hi, this is Doug Wright, and it's showing right now at Hale Center Theater, and it's called May We All. It's a country musical. It's a regional premiere, by the way, and you and your family are absolutely going to love it. It is so much fun, and especially for those who have a little hankering for some great country music, the hits you love, and some songs you've never heard before, you're going to really enjoy. A great tale of a young woman who wants to be a star in country music, and maybe all of the opportunities to become that are waiting for her back home in Tennessee. And by the way, Mother's Day is right around the corner. And the gift that special woman in your life will really appreciate, the gift of theater. And you can buy an individual ticket, you can buy season tickets, you can buy a gift card. Good for anything at Hale Center Theater. The Nutty Professor is yet to come, The Addams Family, The Magician's Elephant, Disney's Beauty and the Beast. Great entertainment is always waiting for you at Hale Center Theater.
You know that feeling? It's kind of hot in the afternoon and you hear the air conditioner kick in and you think, there we go. And then you wait for a bit, but you don't feel any cold yet. So you go put your hand right in front of it, and sure enough, even with all that noise, it's just regular air coming out instead of cold. Whipple that away. Fixing air conditioners that don't make cold is my job. Make your problem my problem. Whipple Service Champions. Call today and ask about our next day installation, or visit whipplethataway.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Jason Jones.
It is an accident eastbound on the 201 just before you get to 215, and the left 2 lanes are blocked there. It's causing some pretty significant delays if you were headed in that direction. Northbound I-15 running a little slow, still through the South Interchange Murray area, and southbound I-15 out of Weber and Davis County, also from 2300 north down into Salt Lake City, less than 70 miles an hour there. But that's pretty much all we've got going on. You may be a little bit busy over on Mountain View corridor at this point, but everything else is looking really good. S&S Roofing is your trusted source for quality and affordability. They have been the top roofing company in Utah for over 40 years. Schedule an estimate now. Get a free quote at snsroofinginc.com. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today will be cloudy with the rain and snow on their way out. High-speed winds moving in later today. Right now it's 43 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, we're getting a clearer picture of what's going to be happening in downtown Salt Lake City. We don't have artist renderings yet, but we are getting closer and closer to figuring out what this redevelopment plan will look like east of the Delta Center.
Do the renderings ever look as good as what actually happens, or do they look better? Because I've seen some pretty incredible renderings. You're right. We are starting to get a good idea of what the new downtown's going to look like. And this one might stick. This one, we tried to do it with the Gateway. It didn't stick. This one might. It's 9:07. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And here are 3 things that Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
Okay, parents, ears up in our 10 o'clock hour. We're going to be live with the Granite School District. It's one of the major school districts in Salt Lake County, in store for some sweeping changes for students and cell phone use during school hours. Elementary and junior high students wouldn't be able to use them bell to bell. 9th through 12th graders, a little more flexibility, but banned during seat time in classrooms. One board member at a meeting last night said she spoke to 4 different principals in her district, and their vote was unanimous. Bell to bell.
Interestingly enough, all 4 of them want to go bell to bell next year.
And this wasn't just the elementary. This was secondary. This was junior highs. This was high schools. They wanted the more restrictive bell to bell. That's the phrase to remember. How many other school districts are ready to jump on board and be that restrictive?
Countdown. 2.
Competition to buy homes is heating up. Dave saw that happen when he put his home on the market. He's going to give us some insights. There's some secret sauce to being a very strategic buyer and how to get that winning bid. And one of those includes something you might not have heard of before. It's called writing a love letter to the property owner to hope you can score the sale. You can score the winning bid. Dave, you got love letters.
I did. I got a love letter. I thought it was so hilarious, number one, because my realtor told me I can't see it.
Oh, that's
I'm like,
interesting.
What in the world? Why can't I see the love letter?
So we're going to ask the Stern team when they join us in the 10 o'clock hour about the rules to follow when it comes to love letters.
Launch. Countdown. 1.
Well, the ball is rolling. It seems like it's picking up speed, not quite going quickly enough for my taste, but with the announcement of the redo of downtown Salt Lake City, looks like a rebuild of the Delta Center in store for both hockey and basketball, and then taking the 2 blocks east of that and rebuilding it for arts and entertainment. Tim and Amanda this morning on Utah's Morning News with the win and the aha moment for me when I heard this about how important both the arts and sports are to drawing people to downtown Salt Lake City, Dave.
63% of the what we call customer days happening downtown being a result of sports, arts, and convention activity downtown.
Okay, this is why, for all the people that are signing the petition, save Abravanel Hall, we want the symphony, this is why you don't need to worry at all, in my opinion. Everybody benefits by keeping the arts prominent in this new redesign, because right now, NBA only gets 41 days, 41 nights that brings people downtown. NHL, 41 nights. That's only 82 total days. You've got to fill in those other, 280 some odd days. So the arts playing a huge role, makes financial sense, which is a big win, which is why you can rest easy.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The launch.
Commence.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
In just a few seconds, we're going to get to KSL 5 Television's Lindsay Aerts, who was at last night's city council meeting, which really gave us a better peek at what's going to be happening. Smith Entertainment Group there as well, and I think what we heard from them is promising.
This has to be a place that is safe. Families and individuals have to want to come down here, and it has to be a very safe, engaging place for everyone in our community to come and to gather. Sustainability is incredibly important to us. The sustainability team here in Salt Lake City just has an incredible reputation. We look forward to working very closely with them.
And the Jazz alone is not enough. And I don't think the Jazz and the NHL is enough to just keep sending people down to downtown. Lindsay Aerts joins us right now, KSL 5 television reporter. You were at the meeting. Will you help break it down for us?
Yeah, Dave, well, I kind of thought we would get more specifics last night, but we didn't. And that's okay because there's still more time. There's another public meeting on May 21st. But a few things, at least I learned as I've been following this process. The Delta Center is going to kind of shift its door. Right now it opens right to our building, basically, on that third west corner, opens to a parking lot. So you heard Mike Mon with the Smith Entertainment Group yesterday talk about how that will face east, and then they've asked for the 2 blocks east of that to be this revitalization zone. And so that was kind of the real, specific of the plan that we sort of heard. But then we also heard a little bit about the money. The Smith Entertainment Group said at very early estimate they would be putting in $3 billion of their own money. Then there's about $1.2 billion that would get generated from a sales tax increase. And Smith Entertainment Group can take up to $900 million of that per the law we just passed. And so we heard some of those figures, and then we also heard a little bit about the connectivity, right, of City Creek to Delta Center, making that walkable, making that, again, they use this kind of sports, entertainment, culture, and convention district. So you brought up, how those conventions and the arts and the culture are sort of driving the people going into downtown, right? So we heard some specifics, but really a lot more of an overall vision and a lot of vows and promises that the Smith Entertainment Group says they're committed to using as guiding principles as they create this district.
What about for the folks who are leaning into saving Abravanel Hall, Linz, what do you know about that?
Yeah, so what we heard last night was Mike Monaghan with the Smith Entertainment Group say they want Abravanel on site. But whether that means a renovation or a complete teardown and redo, that remains to be seen. You heard County Mayor Jenny Wilson talk about how there are some major upgrades needed to the building. And so they are weighing the costs right now of whether the renovations, if the juice is worth the squeeze, if you will, right, on the renovations, right? But you did hear, again, that promise and that vow from the Smith Entertainment Group that arts and culture and the Museum of Art, too, is part of their vision for this area. So I think it's safe to say that they want the symphony on this site. They want Abravanel Hall on this site. But what that looks like in terms of the actual building still remains to be seen.
Lindsay Aerts, thank you for joining us from KSL 5 Television. And I saw some estimates, Debbie, that renovations for Abravanel Hall could cost hundreds of millions.
Well, what I'm super curious about as well is that walkable, will this be one big, long, walkable city street? Will it be open to cars? Will it not be open to cars? I mean, I know the mayor is super excited about this project.
I am thrilled that we are sitting here with the key on the table to unlock the revitalization of our entire downtown core.
Okay, I hate the name Revitalization Zone, but I'm dying to find out what it will look like. So let's go in depth on that angle next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Are you willing to do something today that will change every tomorrow for the rest of your life? For me, that one thing that changed everything was the day I made the decision to begin my SOTA weight loss journey. SOTA stands for state-of-the-art weight loss because it is state-of-the-art. I was so tired of being a spectator on the bench, out of the game, feeling tired and out of shape. But with my personal SOTA nutritionist, they helped me break through bad habits and poor choices and build a better me for today and for the rest of my life. No fads, no potions. I let go of 37 pounds in 90 days. I'm 2.5 years into my journey, and I am still 37 pounds down, have never felt better. The results don't lie. The difference will surprise and amaze you. I always say that when it comes to your SOTA weight loss journey, there's no time to lose, only time to win. So start winning. Your healthy tomorrow starts today. Make the decision today that will change every day for the rest of your life. Check it out, state-of-the-art weight loss at sotaweightloss.com.
Just last week, KSL was live from Utah's Law Enforcement Memorial.
The suspect made a U-turn, deliberately targeting the officers.
Now, Officer Bill Hoosier's name will be added.
Kids wore blue to school this morning.
People have been pulling over to leave flowers, American flags, cards, and other gifts.
What he liked most about his job, he said, making a difference.
In the line of duty.
We take solace knowing that Bill died a hero.
All this week on KSL News Radio.
Hey, have you saved more than $200,000 in an IRA or 401k? You may not realize it now, but you've got a big problem on your hands. And that problem is taxes. Because if you don't take advantage of some tax planning strategies now, Uncle Sam could take a big chunk of your hard-earned retirement savings. Learn how you could reduce the taxes on your IRA and 401k with a free retirement tax savings analysis. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $200,000, schedule your free tax strategy session now by calling 801-896-9622. Discover the tax planning strategies that could dramatically reduce your taxes in retirement. Call 801-896-9622. That's 801-896-9622.
Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. Insurance products and services offered through Boss Retirement Solutions.
It's time for Rush Hour Rivals. In one corner is a helmet-donning bicyclist. In the other corner is a seatbelt-wearing driver. Can the driver keep a 3-foot distance on the road? Can the cyclist ride in the bike lane and wear reflective gear? Who will win?
I'm fine to ride in the bike lane and wear reflective gear.
Yeah, and I can easily keep a 3-foot distance.
So, not rivals at all?
Nah.
Meet in the middle so your paths don't. A message from the Utah Department of Public Safety.
Do you have chirping smoke detectors? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you've ever experienced chirping smoke detectors, you already know how annoying it can be. A great first step to try and stop the chirping is to change the batteries. If the chirping continues, it's possible that your smoke detector has gone bad. As a matter of fact, a lot of people don't even realize that manufacturers recommend replacing the smoke detector altogether after 10 years. If you remove the smoke detector from the wall, on the back you should find a date of when it was made. Do a little math and you'll know how old it is. Now, Any Hour Services knows being a homeowner means you've got a list a mile long of things to do around the house, and check my electrical system probably isn't one of them. That's why we've put together this radio special for any homeowners listening. One of our licensed electricians will perform a comprehensive inspection of your electrical system that includes testing those smoke detectors and give you a full written report for only $29. But you have to mention this ad when you call. Call Any Hour Services to schedule at 801-443-7300. 801-443-7300. Any Hour Services.
When you think of Utah's homeless, who do you see? They are people with names and faces, and many are in dire circumstances. They are men and women, and sometimes children. Many are living on the street, in a car, or in a shelter. Some choose to be homeless. Most do not. Many experience the challenges of addiction or mental illness. All are vulnerable. Homelessness is a crisis, one that affects us all. Utah is building a coalition of community leaders and concerned citizens united to end the plight of homelessness. Homelessness should not mean hopelessness. Learn more at projecthumandignity.org. A message from Utah Impact Partnership.
Here's an easy tip from Jordan Valley Water to know when it's time to water your lawn. If you step on your grass and it pops right back up again, you don't need to water yet. For more tips, visit waittowater.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, we've got a break from the rain and snow, but strong winds from the east will soon take their place. Second, Utah has allocated $3 million for security software capable of detecting firearms in the school. And third, Utah's new hockey team is off to a good start. It's been awarded the 6th pick in this year's NHL draft. Right now, 43 degrees in Salt Lake. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
Okay, so here's what we do know about the revitalization zone of downtown Salt Lake City. And I don't know why I think this is such a big deal. I guess it's because they're Easter egging us, and any Easter egg that we pick up along the way, I'm like, oh, look, it's gold. It's gold. The Delta Center doors will face east. If you've been to the Delta Center, first of all, it'll be, it'll host NBA and NHL, but they're going to shift the opening so it faces east. So where the sun rises, those are where the doors will face. And then it sounds like there's just going to be an entertainment and arts district that's going to be walkable from the doors east.
Right now, it faces east-ish. It's like northeast, kind of on a diagonal. It's a little bit unique in the way it's facing. But what they're hoping is that they can create some sort of corridor of like, hey, here's the Delta Center, here's the opening. And then the next couple of blocks, is the farther you go east, is just this incredibly beautiful, vibrant, new revitalized downtown. Debbie, I'm excited about it. It sounds like the hottest spot, what downtowns are supposed to be.
Well, it's a 3-to-1 buy-in, too, from the Smith Entertainment Group. We just got that word from Lindsay Ertz of KSL5 Television, who covered the meeting at City Hall last night. Starting to learn that it looks like the Smith Entertainment Group will pitch in $3 billion or more. There'll be $1 billion raised from a sales tax increase, a slight sales tax increase that will impact Salt Lake City.
So for those folks that are keeping track right now, this new plan, whether it's $3-4 billion, they said $3 billion to start. It could be much higher. There's $3 billion in development over here. Remember, there was $3 billion that was going to the Power District for the new Major League Baseball stadium. $6 billion of investment is on the horizon here in Utah. That is incredible.
Dee Brewer, the executive director of the Downtown Alliance, live on the phone with us. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm really excited. I don't know if you can paint us a picture or not, because I don't think there's any official artist renderings, but maybe you can give us a sneak peek behind the curtain as to what this walkable district will look like. It sounds really exciting.
There's a lot of enthusiasm about hockey. I think some were surprised by that. And certainly what is being proposed is ambitious, and it is going to require some change that is probably uncomfortable as well. The notion of a east-west connection piercing what is the barrier that is the Salt Palace is really a fantastic addition, innovation in downtown that I think will restore some traffic patterns that will improve downtown.
How so? What's the vision there?
Yeah, well, as you were saying, with the Delta Center anchored on the west end and facing toward Main Street and reconnecting corridors there, you're connecting to other investments that have been made downtown. City Creek Center, the Eccles Theater, the corridors that include the cultural pieces, Capitol Theater, Bravenel Hall, Rose Wagner. all of these things need to be integrated in this vision, in this plan. And I think this corridor that we're talking about is a really good tool to do that.
Dee Brewer is the executive director of the Downtown Alliance. We're talking to him about, getting a little more information about what this downtown revitalization zone will look like on the heels of a meeting at City Hall last night. So, Dee, you said something a few seconds ago. You said piercing the Salt Palace. So when you said that, I would envisioned sort of a walkable area where the Salt Palace is on maybe one side of it and then also on the other side of it. And then, I don't know, are we splitting the baby there?
Well, I've seen various plans, or I should say concepts, brought forward by different entities. And let me say, the Salt Palace is a really important asset downtown as well. We measure customer days downtown, and last year there were 20.2 million customer days. That means people spent more than 90 minutes downtown. Well, the convention center was a huge driver. The biggest customer days, 72% of those had major events in the convention center. 78% of those top days had events at the Delta Center. So these are real drivers in the downtown economy.
Bravenel Hall. We've already seen people go full panic mode. Petitions are being signed, thousands of signatures. They're saying save Bravenel Hall. What's a way to balance the arts and maybe renovate or tear down and rebuild? What does that look like?
Yeah, the arts are another key driver in the downtown economy. And that same measurements of customer days, over half of those top visitation days downtown had 8 or more arts and culture events going on in downtown Salt Lake City. So symphony, opera, Broadway, all of that. The symphony is absolutely a part of the future. It has to be. And all of these arts organizations contribute to the vitality of our city. The mayors, Wilson and Mendenhall, and Smith Entertainment Group declared their commitment yesterday to the symphony and their place in this. I would also add Utah Museum of Contemporary Art is another beloved institution downtown that we need to make sure has a place in the future.
Yeah, I don't see this as an either or. I don't see this as a sports over arts. I think there's room for all of it. Dee, can you put a good word in for somebody at City Hall for me that we do need more outdoor dining in this revitalization zone? I think it's long overdue. We've been begging for it for decades. So if you can put a good word in for more restaurants with outdoor dining space, that would be great. We'll have you on the show again. How's that?
I'm on board 100% with that.
Yeah, we're ready for that. Dee Brewer, Executive Director of the Downtown Alliance. Thanks so much for jumping on the line with us and walking us through what you know. I'm sure you know a lot more, and we look forward to talking to you in the future to pick your brain.
You love the outdoor dining. Do you forget that the hockey season and jazz season is in the middle of the winter?
So you cannot make this exclusive to hockey and basketball. You have got to make it a draw for people who are interested in all different kinds of entertainment, not just sports entertainment, but there is a lot of interest in the symphony. There's a lot of support for Capitol Theater. There's a ton of support for Eccles. They pack the house. So I see a year-round hotspot. It's, you can't just build and revitalize, spend $4 billion or $5 billion and say, oh, it's exclusive for winter. It's exclusive for winter. Look, I'm super, super duper excited about this. I know the mayor is also excited, but I do have a little bit of a Debbie Downer moment that I want to point out in about 4 minutes. We also want to take your phone calls. 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. Is it thumbs up? Or does this get a thumbs down from you? Next.
9:30 9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story, Utah has allocated $3 million for security software capable of detecting firearms in the school. It would cover up to 4 cameras per school, working with cameras already installed as an overlay. If the software detects a firearm in the school, alerts will be sent out immediately to law enforcement and school officials. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, we're seeing more war protesters on European universities.
Anger building on campuses in Europe with the ongoing Israeli offensive in Gaza. At the University of Amsterdam, students and staff vented that anger, chanting "Free Palestine" and "Occupation No More." Police came in and knocked down the makeshift barriers. Over 100 arrests were made. Similar scenes in Berlin's Free University. In recent days, students have held protests from Finland to Britain. Tom Rivers, ABC News at the Foreign Desk.
University of Utah President Taylor Randall wrote an op-ed offering an explanation for the way he handled the recent campus protests. The piece in the Deseret News says, quote, "Peaceful protests have a sacred and cherished place in American history and at the University of Utah." But he says students cannot break the law and there are consequences for doing that. He then went on to say the University of Utah will not take a side in the current Israel-Hamas war. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 84 points. That's 0.2%. We're at 38,968. Coming up, that's the sun I see poking through the clouds, but wind is on the way. We'll check weather next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hey, remember, Utah has some of the hardest water in the entire country. It's why my wife and I decided to call Connecticut of Utah. They're an authorized Connecticut dealer, and say, hey, will you come out to our house and walk us through? Because I had it when I was a kid. When you're an adult, you don't really realize why your parents did the things they did. And they showed me all the differences, all the places where soft water affected my life. Number one, dry skin. We really struggle with dry skin, very common here in Utah with the climate. Soft water has been incredible for our dry skin. We don't feel like we have to bathe in lotion every time we get out of the shower or the bath. It's also great for cleaning. The hard water stains on your dishes. I'm sure you've scrubbed those spots off your crystal and your dishes a million different times. Soft water has just obliterated those in our house. So if you're interested, go ahead and give Connecticut of Utah a call at 801-576-8600. That's 801-576-8600. Or check them out online at softwaterutah.com.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. Did you know that we offer 3 distinct styles of gutter protection? Each one meant to handle a specific leaf problem. You might not even know there are different styles of gutter protection, but there are. And if you pick the wrong one, it could be a huge waste of money. Now, the big gutter guard companies won't tell you this. They try to sell you a one-size-fits-all gutter guard. And it could be completely wrong for the amount and types of trees and leaves you have. Not RGS Exteriors. We understand which kind of leaf problem needs which kind of gutter guard. We'll do an in-depth evaluation to assess the types, locations, and numbers of trees in your yard. Based on that data, we match your home to the right gutter guard. So don't risk wasting money on the wrong gutter protection. For a free evaluation and estimate, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's 801-280-3110 or rgsexteriors.com.
We had a company propose a power line route to come right down through the center of town with 160-foot high voltage power lines.
A resident of our community reached out to Celeste and just asked for a statement, and she did much better than that. She actually came down to our very small town and met with us.
And we really appreciate Celeste and everything that she did for the town of Leamington.
Celeste showed up for me.
She'll show up for you.
And she shows up for Utah.
Paid for by Celeste for Congress.
A happy place comes in many colors. One that leaves you feeling refreshed. Something that gets you all fired up. Or gives you the space to chill. Whatever your color, bring happiness home with CertaPro Painters and make your happy place your home. CertaPro Painters, that's painting happy. Get started today at CertaPro.com. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Contractor license and registration information is available at CertaPro.com.
My name is Dale Pazinski. I volunteer with United Way to help the homeless in my community learn computer skills and build a basic resume. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Jason Jones.
All lanes now open eastbound on the 201. We had that accident right before the 215, but that has been cleared at this point in time. So things are starting to clear out there, although you still have some delays that go back to about 5600 west. The rest of your commute, though, through the Salt Lake Valley, looking pretty good. No problems on I-15 from Payson all the way up to Ogden. That's going to roll at regular speeds. Also, the rest of your belt route and up into your canyons looking fantastic at this point. Choose a gorgeous new countertop for your kitchen or bath at the Bedrock Quartz Stone Sale, starting at just $39 a foot. Visit bedrockquartz.com. That's at bedrockquartz.com. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today will be cloudy, but the rain and snow are on their way out. High-speed winds are moving in later tonight. Right now it's 43 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
We are starting to get a clearer picture of what this downtown revitalization zone will look like. NHL, of course, coming to Utah a few weeks ago. That announcement was officially made. The Jazz, NHL, will play... I don't know the name of the team, otherwise I'd call them by the name.
You're not alone. No name.
Yeah, no name yet. We'll play at the Delta Center. The Delta Center will be renovated to accommodate hockey. And the doors to the Delta Center will be shifted. Right now they face that parking lot into the, northeast side of it. It's just this weird opening anyway. It doesn't. It opens up to kind of like a parking lot in the street. Those will shift east. And then there'll be this revitalized zone that sounds like it'll be walkable. I'm envisioning restaurants, the arts, either a redo or a rebuild of a Bravenel Hall. And it'll open, it sounds like open up then to not only the convention center, but also City Creek. So I think it's very promising, Dave.
If they can pull it off, it'll be incredible. Because right now, you just mentioned 3 or 4 different pods. That's how I view them. You've got the City Creek pod, and then the Salt Palace pod, and Delta Center, and Gateway. All these are individual and separated. There's no flow between the 4, different places. So if they can connect it, amazing. We're taking your phone calls right now. This is the question I have, Debbie. There's a lot of optimism. There's a lot of excitement. Is this an old school way of thinking about city planning, where you've got to have this vibrant downtown, or are downtowns dead? Because we were told, you build Gateway, we invest in Gateway, it's going to bring everyone downtown. Gateway died. City Creek, same promises. City Creek has been okay, but downtown is not vibrant right now.
Do you jump in the car from the burbs and go, you know what, I'm going to go down to City Creek and go shopping?
Debbie, that's the point I'm making. I wonder if we're kind of stuck in this old school way of thinking about how to have a vibrant downtown, or even if we need a vibrant downtown.
We just had Dee Brewer, the executive director of the Downtown Alliance, live on the line with us, and he talked about that all these pods that you talked about, they need to be integrated, and it's like this one sort of sweeping concept.
With the Delta Center anchored on the west end and facing toward Main Street and reconnecting corridors there, you're connecting to other investments that have been made downtown. City Creek Center, the Eccles Theater, the corridors that include the cultural pieces, Capitol Theater, Bravenel Hall, Rose Wagner. All of these things need to be integrated in this vision, in this plan. And I think this corridor that we're talking about is a really good tool to do that.
801-575-TALK. We're taking your phone calls. Our downtown's dead? And Debbie, I think you ask a very good question. Are you going to pack up the family, load them into the minivan, and come downtown for City Creek or for Gateway or to go to a jazz game?
Well, I think if it's affordable, that's another aspect of this we haven't talked much about. If it's affordable for my family, a lot of these events aren't. But, symphony to me is a couple's night out. I did, take my kids too, but just to take the whole family, it was not something that we did. I love Eccles Theater. I've taken my kids there for different performances. Capitol Theater, I love that facility as well. I will say this, though. My Debbie Downer moment in all of this is, and I'm totally on board with people who want to peacefully protest or petition for what they believe in. But this online petition of something like 22,000 people who've signed it. I'm trying to check the latest on change.org. Yeah, 22,438 with a goal of 25,000 signatures regarding Abravanel Hall and the concern that it could possibly fall victim, be torn down as a result of this revitalization zone. And I would just say this is watch what you wish for on this. This is a rather old building. They call it on the petition a historic building. I don't know if it technically qualifies, like a 1979 building qualifies as historic. I mean, I was born in 1967, so what does that make me?
My home was in 78, so it's uber historic now.
So I know there's some technical terms regarding historic. This is a building that probably is desperately in need of some renovations. It is beautiful on the inside. I think it could use an upgrade in terms of curb appeal on the outside of it. A lot of people might disagree with me on that. But if you can get a brand new Abravanel Hall with perhaps, transferring, moving some of the beautiful features that are in the current one over with better acoustics, with better access for our grandmas and grandpas, do it. Take advantage of this moment. I want to say, before you continue to fight it, look at what the actual plans are going to be and see if you won't be better off with a beautiful brand new facility for the symphony.
I would think new is always better. And this is not a new building. The Abravanel Hall, as you said, this is 45 years old. And it has some real problems. It needs hundreds of millions of dollars worth of renovations, according to some reports. But again, you were mentioning the arts, the games. All of these things are a pretty expensive ticket, right? This is not something you're doing every weekend. We can go to a movie every weekend. We can afford that. But I just looked at the symphony. They're playing How to Train Your Dragon. They're going to play the movie. It looks awesome. Yeah. And I thought my kids would love this, Debbie. They would love to go this. I looked up how much it costs, each ticket, $85. How do I take a family of 5 or 6?
You got to go, but you got to pick one.
I choose one.
You get to pick your
one
favorite
of you
child.
That are my favorite. Yeah, some of these things were very cool. They're also not repeatable. You can't do this several times a month. Maybe it's a handful of times all year long. So I want to make sure that whatever they do, and these things are cool, the symphony is great, the hockey, all of that's great. There's got to be some affordable reasons to go downtown and to enjoy this area. So it's going to be a balance. They're going to have to find it.
Okay, well, there you go. A little bit of more of a peek behind the curtain, but the curtain is not fully revealed anything. I mean, we still got to fully draw the curtains, right? What, draw them? Open them? I guess. I don't know. It feels like we're getting like Easter eggs on this revitalization zone. We got a few more Easter eggs last night, and thanks to Lindsay Aerts of KSL5 TV for bringing us the latest from City Hall, and Dee Brewer from the Downtown Alliance for joining us and giving us a little bit more information. Straight ahead, TikTok suing the federal government over its ban, the popular social media app. We'll go in depth with ABC News reporter Mike Dubusky on this lawsuit straight ahead.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
I'm Jason Walton, the only Republican political outsider running for the United States Senate. Are you tired of paying more but getting less? Food, gas, interest rates, they've all gone up. Sending more career politicians to Washington is not the solution. They're the problem. They're addicted to spending money we don't have on things we don't need. They're causing inflation as the federal debt goes up and the value of our money goes down. My opponents are big spending career politicians. Trent Staggs, 11 years politicking. Brad Wilson, 14 years. And John Curtis, as a Democrat, began 24 years ago. I'll stop runaway inflation by forcing politicians to spend only what we give them by passing a balanced budget amendment within 2 terms, or I won't run for re-election. If the other candidates won't make you that promise, then they care more about their careers than about our country. I'm Jason Walton, a candidate for the United States Senate, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Friends of Jason Walton for Senate.
Say hello to For You Banking at Zions Bank. Customized banking that's all about you and the way you bank. Whether you're looking to open a new checking account or simply save for the future, we're ready to help with banking that's meant for you. Experience For You Banking today at your local Zions Bank branch or visit zionsbank.com/4u to learn more. Please refer to the deposit account agreement, account disclosure, deposit rate sheet, and personal account schedule of fees available in the online agreement center, or speak with a banker for more details. A division of Zions Bank Corporation, N.A. member FDIC.
That's right, it's me again, and I'm at J&J Garden Center in Layton, the best place to shop for Mother's Day, where they have something special for every mom, and of course at a special price. Right now, all hanging baskets are 20% off, all flats of flowering bedding plants are just $22.98, and all 4.5-inch geraniums are 20% off too. That's incredible. J&J Garden Center definitely has the best products at the best price, so give Mom something special this Mother's Day with a special purchase from J&J Garden Center in Layton. Take the Layton Parkway exit, Main Street to Gentile, then west 2 miles. You've got to see it to believe it. You really do.
Country grown to your home, J&J Garden Center.
Hi friends, Dan the Laptop Man here from PC Laptops. I get a lot of emails from people all the time. Here's one. Dear Dan, I hear your talk about a lifetime service guarantee. Free? Really? Please help me avoid all your fine print and be honest about what free means. You understand that we should be very wary of a free offer. Signed, Skeptical. Hi, Skeptical. I remember 22 years ago when we started PC Laptops and our lifetime service guarantee, people thought it was too good to be true. Well, after a decade, people started believing me a little bit. But it's been 22 years of having the privilege to serve our friends and neighbors like you. Our lifetime service guarantee has become the most trusted warranty in the industry. You can get a brand new PC Laptops desktop computer, and they start at only $29 a month. Check us out at PCLaptops.com. That's PCLaptops.com. Here's to seeing you soon, Skeptical.
Warmer weather is here, and Skinny Utah would like to help you shape up for summer by losing 20 pounds or more in the next 40 days. That's right, at least 20 pounds in as little as 40 days. That's the Skinny Utah 20-Pound Promise, where they customize every plan because no two bodies are alike. Their proven programs are 100% natural. There are never any prepackaged meals or shakes to buy, and never any dangerous shots, drugs, or hormones. At Skinny Utah, they teach you how to eat real food you buy at the store. Take the first step to a healthier new you and schedule your free weight loss strategy session at skinnyutah.com. A $300 value. Absolutely free. Skinny Utah has offices in Centerville, Draper, and Orem, and they're extending their couple special where the second person is half price. Schedule your free weight loss strategy session today at skinnyutah.com. That's skinnyutah.com. At Skinny Utah, you have nothing to lose but the weight.
Gillette Heating and Air Conditioning is offering spring air conditioner tune-ups for only $59. Call 385-GET-COOL to schedule today. A Carrier Factory authorized dealer.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, Executive Director of the Downtown Alliance, Dee Brewer, says he feels confident Japantown won't be left behind in the proposed downtown revitalization plan. Second, the funeral of Santaquin Police Sergeant Bill Hoosier will take place on Monday morning at Utah Valley University. Third, after years of planning a false start and 2 groundbreaking events, West Jordan is getting a community and arts center. Right now, let's see what our current temperature is downtown, 43 degrees. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Lawsuit. We knew this was going to happen. TikTok, its parent company ByteDance, suing the federal government over the legislation that was passed and then signed by President Biden, Dave, that will force TikTok to divest or disappear.
The further we get down this road, the more uncomfortable I become with it. Because this is exactly what other countries do. Totalitarian dictatorships do this. They shut down social media accounts. Think about the protests that were happening in Taiwan. China shuts down Twitter. Iran, you remember the morality police where they snatched up this woman, beat her to death, and there were all sorts of protests in Iran over this. They shut down WhatsApp. They shut down Instagram. They don't want this getting out. They don't want the message getting out because they don't trust the social media companies. That's exactly what we're saying right now. So I'm becoming more and more uncomfortable with the idea of saying, you know what, Americans? I don't trust you to be able to figure out what is true and what is wrong, so we're just going to take TikTok away from you.
Well, and TikTok arguing that this is a violation of First Amendment. Let me remind you what the First Amendment says. In part, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech. And then it goes on to talk about the press. So right there, the freedom of speech, I think that's going to be the crux of the argument. Mike Dubusky, you're tracking this story for us, ABC News' technology reporter. What are you hearing about it?
Yeah, good morning, guys. And you're absolutely right. This is not a surprise. We expected TikTok to mount a legal challenge to this legislation that has currently been signed into law by President Biden about 2 weeks ago. In this lawsuit, TikTok says that divestiture, as this lawsuit stipulates, is simply not possible. Not commercially, not technologically, and not legally, and certainly not within the time frame outlined in this legislation. So let's just rewind a little bit. This legislation gives ByteDance, TikTok's Chinese parent company, about a year, a little bit less than a year, to divest from this app, to sell it off to an American firm or a group of investors. Otherwise, it's going to be kicked off the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, thus amounting to an effective ban. Now, TikTok says that that's not enough time, that this is too complex of a deal to figure out within the course of this time frame, and essentially that it amounts to an effective ban. The words they use are an extraordinary and unconstitutional assertion of power, and they are mounting a First Amendment challenge here, saying that removing TikTok, as is inevitable if this legislation is upheld, amounts to removing a key free speech platform from the millions of Americans who use it every month.
Making that specific argument, bringing in the First Amendment, is the thought that this is going to make its way all the way up to the Supreme Court?
That is certainly a possibility. Now, I want to say that there's a lot that needs to happen before we get there. The next step here is we go to an appeals court. We're actually skipping over sort of the first step in lawsuits like this, which is a district court, going straight to a 3-judge appeals court who will then ultimately decide what to do next. That could mean scheduling hearings that would go on throughout the summer. But while this is all being decided, guys, the clock continues to tick for TikTok. If you'll forgive the Kesha reference, that means that they have to somehow figure out a deal while they are also fighting this in court. It seems like ByteDance and TikTok say that this is going to be a non-starter, that a deal is not really feasible and that it's not going to happen. But, you know, that could change as time wears on.
Well, that's certainly a big development because I think there were some hopes from TikTok users that perhaps ByteDance and TikTok would get sold off to an American company. But if they're saying it's not possible, that's a game changer. ABC technology reporter Mike Dubusky live on the line. TikTok has slapped the federal government with a lawsuit saying that the TikTok divestiture legislation would essentially amount to a ban of TikTok, which is a violation of the First Amendment. Do we have any more information, Mike? Have you been poking around behind the scenes up there on Capitol Hill or any of your fellow reporters back there at ABC News as to the specifics? Like, I know there's been allegations of the concerns that the Chinese have access to Americans' data through TikTok, but I just haven't seen anything very super specific, like specific examples from Congress.
And that's a great piece of this debate, right? That's a key piece of this story, is that there are basically two main concerns that lawmakers raise about TikTok, that given its connection to a Chinese parent company, that company could conceivably be approached by the Chinese government and asked to do a number of unsavory things, including spy on Americans or leverage Chinese propaganda into Americans' feed. As you're alluding to, there is right now no evidence to suggest that that is happening. In TikTok's lawsuit, they call those concerns purely hypothetical. Certainly something that could happen, but there's no smoking gun here, guys. And something else that's worth noting, this particular case is unique. When Congress passed the TikTok bill, they said any constitutional challenge of it would skip this district court and go right to an appeals court. We mentioned this earlier. It's really rare to see something like this happen. And TikTok's filing acknowledges that the usual rules of civil procedure might not apply here. So there's a lot of questions left to be answered before we figure any of this out.
Wow. Great reporting. Mike, thank you so much for jumping on the line with us live to walk us through this legal challenge now over the federal divestiture / potential ban of TikTok. Mike Dubusky with ABC News.
Now, a couple of years ago, I do remember that there were some TikTok employees that were fired. Cops said that they were running a covert surveillance campaign on TikTok. It looks like this was a very small group, just isolated, that it wasn't something that was widespread.
So we'll have to ask KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas about leapfrogging right to the next level here in this lawsuit. It sounds like they were forced to do it, because I have been looking forward to this day in court, because it would force, I think, the federal government to disclose through discovery and other methods, which normally happen in court, like what your evidence is that adds up to basically a ban of TikTok. So show us the evidence of when TikTok and all the data has been infiltrated by the CCP and sent back to China to be used against Americans. We haven't seen that I'm aware of. I haven't seen it. I've heard about it. I've heard it's happening, but I haven't seen hard evidence. And this is what happens when you get into court, is both sides are forced to produce hard evidence. And I hope that skipping to the next level in the court proceedings doesn't eliminate that element of the process.
Yes, I would love to see the discovery right now, because I think you and I are both so impatient. At this point, there's been so many allegations. We need to have some company, some group, some family that has been directly affected. That is at the core of our lawsuits. You have to have somebody that has been wronged to be able to challenge this. And I'm sure there are a few isolated cases, but we're talking about millions and millions.
Yeah. I don't know about. I mean, you talked about the one case that doesn't sound like a company issue. That sounded like an employee issue.
Well, whether they're working for TikTok, if someone was, pulling the strings, it doesn't matter. What we haven't seen is the widespread nature of this.
Well, I got to see Congress in court connecting the dots. That's what I want to see. Straight ahead, let's talk about the sweeping changes that are in store for students and cell phone use in the Granite School District. They're big. That's next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. We've got a break from the rain and snow, but strong winds from the east will soon take their place. KSL meteorologist Kevin Eubank says those winds are expected to start kicking up tonight and into tomorrow morning.
But looks like the potential is for gusts of 45 to 65 miles per hour both Thursday morning and Friday morning.
Kevin says the strongest winds will run from North Salt Lake to Ogden, especially Centerville to Layton. Winds expected to die out by Saturday, with temperatures getting back into the 70s again. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. George Washington University in D.C., the latest to see campus protesters cleared out by police. Chief Pamela Smith says they took action after counter-protesters entered the encampment. Some officers used pepper spray to clear out the crowd. At least 33 people were arrested. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day, 81 points. The NASDAQ right now down 39. And our KSL weather looks like we're going to get some big winds the next couple of days. KSL News Time, 10:01.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Everyone's house is different, but they're all the same in one way. We've all got those places where the Wi-Fi just won't go. For you, maybe it's the attic. For me, it's my basement. Well, if you had wall-to-wall Wi-Fi from Xfinity, you could worry less about these dead spots. Finally. With wall-to-wall Wi-Fi from Xfinity, you get fast speeds throughout your home, reliable connection in every room, and power for all of your devices, even when everyone is online. That's wall-to-wall Wi-Fi from Xfinity. Get wall-to-wall Wi-Fi from Xfinity for a reliable connection throughout your home. Now through June 21st, new customers can get started with gig speed internet for $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract and free Wi-Fi equipment included when you add unlimited mobile. $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract. Go to Xfinity.com. Call 1-800-XFINITY. That's 1-800-XFINITY or visit a store today.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Gabby.
Hey, Gabby. It's Jennifer Coolidge. Hi. I'm so glad I reached you at 2 a.m.
Oh, of course. Anyone with a Discover card can call and talk to a real person 24/7. Now, how can I help?
Yeah, I used my Discover card to buy these yellow pleather pajamas, and I'm just not sure I'm pulling them off.
24/7 U.S.-based customer service. It pays to Discover. Limitations apply. Learn more at discover.com/creditcard.
As a roofer, spring means the start of my busy season, which means I've got to get organized with help from Beacon. I can save time with Beacon Pro Plus and 24/7 access to live pricing, delivery tracking, order history, and more. Plus, this spring, I can earn $1,000 and the chance to win a $25,000 backyard renovation just by buying my CertainTeed shingles online with Beacon. No purchase necessary. Now that's what I call a spring cleanup. Visit BECN.com for official rules and to start earning entries.
It's that time of year. The Mother's Day Spring Expo at the Spanish Fork Fairgrounds is this Friday and Saturday. With so much to see and do. For women, men, and kids.
And admission is free.
Don't miss over 100 vendors with crafts, clothing, jewelry, children's books, educational toys, t-shirts, family games, gardening items, food trucks, and more.
Hi, this is Emily inviting you to the Mother's Day Spring Expo at the Spanish Fork Fairgrounds.
When do we go?
This Friday and Saturday.
Hey, summer's coming. Better replace your old air conditioner with up to $5,550 in incentives from First Choice Heating and Air on a new day and night system help.
Have First Choice Heating and Air install a new high-efficiency day and night heat pump AC and furnace and get day and night rebates and tax credits totaling as much as $5,550. But hurry, these offers end May 31st.
Hi, this is Rob Freeman. Click online to firstchoicecool.com. We have you covered.
The difference is day and night at First Choice Heating and Air.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Jason Jones.
Oh, we got an accident. This is northbound on the west side belt at about 2100 north is the place. In fact, the off-ramp there, it's actually open, but there's a truck, a pickup truck that's gone off into the Gore area there and down into the grass, and then there's some trucks off to the side as well. So keep an eye out as you pass through that area. Otherwise, the only other real crowding that we see is north and southbound on Bangor Highway at Shields Lane. Not sure if there was an accident there earlier or not, but it's still heavy in both directions there. Advanced Window Products offer Graber window coverings, high-end quality with the best warranty. Save 30% off when you mention KSL. AdvancedWindows.com. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
It'll be cloudy with a chance of showers today, and then easterly winds pick up Thursday morning, continue into Friday, with gusts up to 50 miles an hour. Highs rise into the 70s for the weekend. And right now, we're at 43 degrees. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
The Granite District, I think, has figured out what they're going to try to do regarding cell phone use and students in the classrooms, and a lot of it poured out last night during a school board meeting.
Where you could walk into a class, and especially high school, and 80% of the kids are staring at their phone watching a video. It's like no wonder test scores are dipping. And so I think taking away the biggest, shiniest, most tempting distraction that's in everybody's back pocket is the way to do it.
And I've seen this. We've experienced it. Kids are absolutely buried in their phones during class.
Yeah. Well, Connie Burgess, who's a board member, knows kids are, certain kids are there in school to learn. We all know that, right? There's another reason that she thinks our kids can learn with cell phones.
You can live without your phone for 6 hours or 6.5 or 7 hours a day and find out what life is like without the phone.
That was interesting. I hadn't thought about it that way.
So we'll explain a little bit more about that, Dave.
We have to teach our kids that you don't need to be connected every second of every day. That it's okay that mom and dad can't get a hold of you and you respond within seconds of them texting you.
I see what you're saying. So you can have the cell phone there, but you can also focus on something else without allowing it to distract you.
Too often, I think this is the go-to. We just pick up the phone, we look at it, and that is our default.
Ben Horsley, Chief of Staff of the Granite School District. I walked through the proposals this morning live with Tim and Amanda, just moments after talking to you live on the phone. But I'll let you walk our listeners through what's on the horizon for, cell phones and students in schools in the Granite District.
Well, to be clear, a lot of our schools within our district have already had some sort of restrictions in place. So this would be codifying that, making it consistent across the district. We're looking at a K through 8 bell-to-bell ban on cell phones. So they just cannot be out at all. They could be in a backpack. They could be in your pocket. You just can't have that technology out, any sort of personal device. In the high school, those would be restricted during instructional time. You could have them between passing times and at lunchtime. A lot of our students are using apps on their phones to actually connect and participate in school. There would obviously be exceptions for emergency situations and obviously medical plans or 504s or other appropriate accommodations. That's the gist of it.
You conducted a survey, reached out to, was it just parents or was it parents and kids to get their input about the cell phone policy?
We did a self-selecting survey to all 55,000 households and 58,000, roughly 25,000 secondary students. The vast majority were participants in that. Of the 1,000 respondents were students and parents.
What did you learn?
Students do not like any sort of restrictions whatsoever, and they feel like they can engage without any sort of restrictions, which clearly the data indicates otherwise. Parents were vastly very supportive of restrictions.
Okay. What about teachers? Any feedback from teachers?
Good feedback. We did get some responses from teachers, but I will indicate the sample size is really not lending itself to much credibility in terms of scientific research. But it does give us a lot of points that we need to clarify and areas we need to focus on to ensure that we're addressing this policy in the correct way.
I want to play a little bit from Karen Winder, who is, I believe, one of the past presidents of the school board. she had talked to 4 principals and wanted to know what message they wanted her to share at that meeting.
You know, as I go into board meeting tonight, what would you have me share? Or what would you need from me, your representative as a board member? And they said, back up. They said, even though we're willing to make the sacrifice and work with our community and work with our faculty and everything, it would be so nice to have a district-wide cell phone policy that gave us some backing.
Now, you said a lot of these schools have individual plans, but what I'm hearing Karen say here is that the principals are asking for a district-wide policy that they can point to. Can you speak to the benefit of having a district-wide policy versus having every school adapt it to their own needs?
Well, I think it speaks to the need for consistency across the board and ensuring that even though some of our schools may have policies in place, kids are connected enough and parents are connected enough. They know what other schools around them are doing. And if that's inconsistent, it builds disdain and it makes it more difficult for enforcement at the locations where there is more restrictions. So and our kids are more mobile than ever before, and that's upward mobility too. If you have a different type of restriction at the junior high than you do at the high school, from the elementary and so forth, again, building that consistency, I think, is what our administrators are looking for.
Ben Horsley with the Granite School District, he's the chief of staff, talking to us live right now about changes regarding cell phone policies that would be district-wide in the Granite School District and students. And you said kids don't like it at all. Is it perhaps because if they violated the policy, they would first get a warning, Ben? And then walk us through the different punishments or levels of punishments if kids are caught with their cell phones using them when they shouldn't be.
Well, and I want this was again with self-selecting. When we see self-selecting surveys, we do see situations where people are either on one side of the issue or the other, very extreme in their views. They're very passionate about it. We don't really get a lot of the middle of the road folks.
Okay.
So with respect to the comments that we saw, you can see that there's perhaps a misunderstanding about the application or the desired outcome or the consequence. In this case, it's a 4-step process. The initial step is a warning. Hey, put your cell phone away, or put your AirPods away, right? Second time, it could be a class level confiscation.
Oh.
And third would be sent down to the office for the administration to handle and take your device to the end of the day and have your parents come and collect that or work with the parents to get that back. Then the 4th step would be if there's additional violations, then we would want to engage with the families a lot more significantly to find a path forward.
Ben Horsley, thank you for joining us from the Granite School District. He's the chief of staff there.
What if your kid was caught violating?
I think a warning is great, right? Right out of the gate, hey, I caught you, just put it away. When it becomes repetitive, when it starts becoming a serious problem, then I am absolutely fine with confiscation. I have no problem whatsoever. I'm like, hey, you get 1 warning. Number 2, that phone is mine.
I would tell my kids, you'll want the school to confiscate your phone because if mama shows up, the punishment will be a lot worse than that. Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. I wish Cannon School District would have done this when my kids were in school. I think it's extremely hard for parents when you send your kids to school to know everything that they're doing on their cell phone. And even though you tell them, hey, don't use your cell phone, you could check, I guess on the phone later, but that's, if they used it or not. So, but I love it. It sends a message to kids like this is a place of learning. It's not a place to be on, all of the gaming apps. And it's district-wide, so there's no differences if kids in the same neighborhood go to different schools. It's like it just sends a good message. We do know from, and I'll talk more about this in a moment, a sweeping study out of Norway. They banned cell phones in 400 middle schools, and the results were amazing. They were amazing. They improved kids' mental health. They improved grades. I think this is a win-win. I think this should be an across-the-board for every school in the state of Utah, Dave. How about that?
I totally agree. I think the punishment, the enforcement is the most important, the crackdown. You've got to have buy-in from the teachers. And if they don't enforce it, if some teachers are the cool teachers and, we're not going to enforce this, you can be on your phones, it's going to be a disaster. It's going to create a lot of contempt and anger amongst teachers. It can be very divisive. Whatever you put in place, you've got to have the guts to enforce.
All right, let's take phone calls. 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. Are you on board with the Granite School District's plan? It doesn't matter what district you live in. We want your input. 801-575-TALK. Use your cell phone to call us next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Hey, folks, I've been losing some weight. Been very transparent about this. In 60 days with Salt Lake City Fat Loss, just 2 months, I lost 57 pounds. And my goodness, I cannot walk into a room without people saying, hey, you lost some weight, which I guess 60 pounds, that's pretty incredible, right? I mean, that you'll notice that. And I'm excited about it. I feel better. I'm moving better. And with Salt Lake City Fat Loss, I did it without surgery. I did it without injections. Those were two big ones for me. I didn't want to do surgery. I didn't want injections. So that's why I chose Salt Lake City Fat Loss. Also, no crazy exercising programs, no prepackaged meals. So I've been able to stick with it. So for the last 5 weeks, I've kept all of that weight off, which is a big victory for me. Salt Lake City Fat Loss has an easy website where you can schedule a free consultation. You can find it at slcfatloss.com. That's slcfatloss.com.
Just last week, KSL was live from Utah's Law Enforcement Memorial.
The suspect made a U-turn, deliberately targeting the officers.
Now, Officer Bill Hoosier's name will be added.
Kids wore blue to school this morning.
People have been pulling over to leave flowers, American flags, cards, and other gifts.
What he liked most about his job, he said, making a difference.
In the line of duty.
We take solace knowing that Bill died a hero.
All this week on KSL News Radio.
Joining us right now is Russell Fawcett with the Stern team. And Russell, I just sold my house. I think I've been talking to you too much. We got the bug. We got excited about it. We sold our home. But now as we're buying the new home, we're looking at that new interest rate. It's not the 3.5 that we had.
No, it's not.
What's it looking like?
Yeah, so we're probably hanging around the low 7s. Just kind of straight out. It really depends on your credit, what program you're going with, but we're still high 6s, low 7s.
What influences its interest rate? Just give us some clarity on that, Russell.
Yeah, so this last week we actually even saw an improvement in the interest rate, and what fueled that was the Fed came out and said they weren't going to make any changes to the interest rate because there was rumor they were actually going to raise it. And then the other thing that came out was the jobs report. So it wasn't as strong as what they were expecting. And so that actually caused our interest rate to drop as well. So, we look at GDP, we look at the unemployment rate, we look at inflation, all of that coupled with what the Fed interest rate is.
Now, historically, we look at this and we said, we had some historically low interest rates. 3.5% is what I had, even low 3s. So what is 7%? Is that good? Is that bad? Is it terrible in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, it is about average. It is, given the last 20 years, it's probably a little high still. Honestly, in the 6s is where we typically find that we have that balanced market of it's not, going up way fast or it's still low enough that people can get into a home. So we like to see it in the 6s. 7s, again, feels a little high when it creeps in the high 7s. But right now we are kind of on that 30-year average.
Russell, thank you. Stick around if you don't mind. With the Stern team, there's a great website, sternteam.com, where you can find your home's true value. When we come back, I do want to ask you, how long does it take to sell in today's market?
This statement has not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
When it comes to my lifestyle and diet, I don't always make the smartest choices.
Touchdown! Woo! Hey, how about another round and some more chips?
But when it comes to taking care of my liver, I do make one very smart choice. Active liver tablets from New Nordic. I used to have real issues with my liver, and at my last checkup, my doc was concerned about my numbers, But since adding a once-a-day active liver tablet, my gut's better, I feel great, and my doctor's happy. I ask a lot of my liver, so the least I can do to say thanks is a daily dose of Active Liver.
Active Liver is one of many award-winning health products from New Nordic, the #1 supplier of dietary supplements in Scandinavia. Purchase at Amazon.com or for a volume discount, visit newnordicusa.com. Available as a tablet or delicious sugar-free gummy. Protect and help your liver the easy and effective way with Active Liver at Amazon or newnordicusa.com.
Any Hour Services can help unclog any drain in your house, whether you have a backup, a clog, or a slow drain you want fixed. Call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, we can expect a couple of days of downslope winds on the Wasatch Front this week. Second, the latest university where police have moved in to clear out pro-Palestinian demonstrators is George Washington in D.C. And third, ski season isn't quite over. A few resorts in Utah still running their lefts. 43 degrees right now in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, the Granite School District just on the line with us, spelling out what's in store if the board passes this new rule regarding cell phones and students. Let me break it down for you. Elementary and junior high, it's a bell-to-bell, leave it in your backpack scenario.
Did you say bell to bell, Debbie? As soon as that goes off at 8:22, kids,
stick it in the backpack.
It's gonzo.
And for high schoolers, a little different. Seat time means the cell phone is in the backpack. It's put away. So class time is class time. You can use it in the hall. You can use it outside. But it has to stay in a backpack if you're sitting in a seat in a classroom. I love the plan. Congrats to the Granite School District for taking a really serious stance on cell phone use. I think it'll improve mental health. I think it'll improve grades. And I've got the proof on that. I'm going to talk about that in just a moment.
And none of it matters if you don't have teachers willing to crack down on this. But we're taking your phone calls right now. If you ever want to chime into the show, 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. Let's start off with Cheryl in South Jordan. Cheryl, what do you think?
I very much support what Granite School District is doing. I myself have had our kids go through Jordan District, and I've been a substitute as well as a paraeducator, and then also hired, but I'm not teaching right now. But in my past, I was hired to teach special ed math as well in the high school at Bingham, and I was frustrated because in all those different settings I worked there, from which was between 2017 to 2023, I saw a big difference. I mean, cell phones have always been a problem, but before COVID versus after COVID, when the kids basically had to go to online school, and then they came back to school, and you had to kind of, deadlines and assignments were pretty loose. And then when they came back, they were kind of used to that, and so were the parents.
So were the cell phones being used a lot then in class? Were they distracting?
Yes. So cell phone usage is just every year it gets worse and worse.
Worse and worse.
And
okay.
And so they're it's very typical. Kids are if you watch a movie or something, they're not watching the video clip. They're watching their phones, streaming movies.
Cheryl,
that's
thank
a great
you
point.
so much. Thanks for joining us on the line.
I hadn't thought about that. Some of the downtime, watch a movie, hear a presentation, boom, they're watching YouTube videos.
Let's fly up to Layton and talk to Ryan. Hi, Ryan. What do you think about the Granite District and their new cell phone policy that hasn't been approved yet, but looks like it probably will be?
Hey, I think it's a great start. I think it's really good. But I think we need to look at the bigger picture, and that's where they're getting their data to run their phones. I've spoken to our federal representatives and state representatives to look into a parental control at the site of, say, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile, where us as parents can dictate where those phones go by use of DNS servers. Now, that might be a little bit complex networking, but if we can direct that phone at that site of the internet provider, then the parent can have a a better teamwork with the schools, because I think parents have to be responsible too. It's got to be a
I would
team.
agree with you. And sometimes I was the problem. Texting my child during school and expecting a 2-second response.
I text my kids during school. I do not expect a response.
Yes.
I tell them, I say, if I text you, it's so you can read it when you can. Don't respond.
I think it's like, Dave, your boss saying, hey, I'm going to text you at night, and I don't expect a response. You know
that's a
you're
good
going to
point.
spend the whole night anxious that you didn't respond to your boss's text.
No, good point. Sam in American Fork, what do you think?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
We
got
can.
you.
Oh, good. So, look, I've been in IT for years, since '97. Networking, you name it, cloud stacks, infrastructure.
Wow.
I think so. I have 5 kids, and they've all got 3 are graduated, 2 still in junior high, and they're being distributed devices today right when they come into school. In the Alpine School District, my kids get a Chromebook.
Yep.
And I think that look, there's no reason that anybody has to bring a personal device to school. And if they are going to bring it to school, I think I agree with the policy. Keep it in a bag and keep it there. What we should be doing is we should have a universal app that is distributed on all the devices that get to the kids, that give them all the tools that they actually need, that's defined for their criteria, their curriculum, and to communicate with mom and dad as appropriate. You can do it in a fashion that I think we're kind of digging in the weeds when we're saying, hey, should we control it at the DNS level or at AT&T? No. If I go into a chemistry lab, all the lab stuff is there for me to learn and work on, beakers, burners, whatever. We can do the same thing with technology. It's not overly complex. I think we're just not looking at the real root of how to solve it.
Sam for school board president.
Right?
Yeah, it sounds like I don't know if you'd want the job, but at least go and invent that app. That sounds amazing. Mary in Ogden, what do you think about keeping cell phones out of the classroom setting and in backpacks?
Well, I just retired as a teacher from Davis County School District, and I think it's important that we don't have them in school. I mean, we have a policy where we take the cell phones, but I've been threatened with physical harm if I took somebody's phone.
Wow.
So it's very hard to reinforce that if we don't have the parents behind it and the parents telling the kids that, okay, this is the policy, this is what you need to do. Otherwise, it won't work.
No, it's a great point, and it becomes so confrontational.
It just won't work.
Yeah,
Yes, very confrontational, yes.
Well, Mary, good to know. Thank you so much, and thank you for servicing our kids and for your phone call and your insights.
That's the practicality that we're going to run into, the trouble of where you've got teachers that are confronting kids, asking them to turn over their phone, and the kids won't comply.
Being the phone police. Yeah. Any parent who's raised a teenager knows that sometimes when you even tell your kid, park this phone, park the phone, you get the eyeball roll. So a teacher would be in a really precarious situation.
It's the problem with confiscation. In part, I think the better solution would be a fine. Every time you see a kid brings it out, you write them essentially a citation. Now, we do this already in schools. Every time you park illegally in the parking lot, boom, you get fined. Wow. We have a history of this. I think you can just say, that's fine. It's a $25 fine every time I see it.
Fines, what do those do? They go to warrants? I mean, what are you going to do?
Now we're getting somewhere. Warrants.
Warrants for their arrest. Joel and Harriman, hey, what do you think about this idea of taking cell phones out of the kids' hands during school hours?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think kids should have cell phones in the classroom or using cell phones for personal use. But the ironic thing here is that, 6-7 years ago, I bought my daughter a smartphone because they were using cell phones in the classroom. They were using them for activities, assignments, to look up grades, and she was the only one who didn't have a smartphone. And so that's the only reason why I got her one, is because they were using them so much in the classroom.
Wow.
Great point. We are...
The pendulum is swinging from one side to the other on this.
Which in part makes sense. We should be teaching our kids how to use technology. They're moving into a technological world. This is what jobs are. You have to be able to use it proficiently. But there is a time and the place, and we're having a hard time figuring out how to police the time and the place.
Dave and I went in depth yesterday on the clock that is ticking regarding Social Security. By the year 2033, the Social Security Administration says that they will have to cut benefits, all benefits, by 21%. We talked about yesterday, what do those solutions look like to prop up Social Security? Straight ahead, how to save for retirement without having to rely on Social Security. We'll get a top expert from Bankrate to give us the key to this next.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Cities across the Alpine School District are joining interlocal agreements because the district is considering whether to split up or not. KSL News Radio's Michael Commit has more.
City leaders from Orem, Linden, Vineyard, and Pleasant Grove are considering if they too should also form an interlocal agreement. But it looks like most prefer a two-way split in the school district instead, according to the Daily Herald. This would be between the western cities in the district and everyone else.
Leaders in Linden, Vineyard, and Pleasant Grove prefer the two-way split. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. U.S. officials have already halted the shipments of 3,500 bombs due to their concerns on how they might have been used by Israel in its operations against Hamas. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says there are efforts being made to take a look at other U.S. assistance to Israel. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, though, criticizing that decision as obscene and absurd. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day, the NASDAQ moving down. And it looks like we're expecting some downslope winds over the next couple of days. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
One of the things I've loved about Master Electrical is not only do they handle things in your house, but they've also thought about generators. So say you lose electricity to your house, you have a blackout. They sell standby generators from Generac. They're one of the premier dealers to take care of your needs, even if the electricity leaves you.
Well, I thought about you this week, and I wondered if you were going to look at getting a standby generator when you get your new home, because I heard that there were some power outages up in Kaysville because of all the weather we were having. So this is the time, Dave. You got to get a hold of Master Electrical. Ask them about their standby generator program. We know they add value to your home, and we also know that blackouts can happen at any time, and you'd be in real trouble, Dave, because you have that EV. You need to charge it.
Got to charge it up. Also, if you're a little older, you have medical equipment that absolutely cannot lose power. This is where a standby generator can just provide you with that peace of mind.
Now, all of their installations are done in-house. There's no third party. They don't use a third party. They're the ones installing your generator, and they have different financing that fits almost any budget.
Ask for the Generac at masterelectrical.com.
All in together now, we can make it better. Can we do it? We rope it up.
Cause we know how to jump. Moving and eating better every day can help make you and your kids healthier. Search We Can online to find out more. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
We love having the Stern team in-house with us. Russell Fawcett back with us from the Stern team. He's the Director of Operations. We just talked about interest rates and what's happening on that front. Talk to us right now about how long it's taking to sell homes in today's market.
Yeah, so a lot of it depends on your price point. So if you're under 500,000, we're still seeing that those are moving within about 30 days. If you take the whole average, so all homes on the market, the days on market is 53. But then when you start getting up into, really above 800,000, into the millions, 2 millions, some of those are 90 days plus. The most, kind of the price point that I saw, the longest was about 180 days. So it really depends on neighborhood. It depends on price point. But if you're just to ask me what's the average, it's 53 days.
What's considered a buyer's market and a seller's market?
Yeah, so a buyer's market, when we look at it, is we look at inventory. And so how we figure the market is we take what's available on the market and we divide it by last month's sales. And so a buyer's market, it's considered a buyer's market if there's more than 7 months of inventory. It's a seller's market if there's less than 5 months, and then a balance is 5 to 7 months. So right now we're sitting, roughly about 4 months of inventory. So even though it feels like a complete swing from what it was a couple years ago, we are still considered a seller's market right now.
We are still in a seller's market. Wow. I would have not have guessed that, but you're the expert who figures all this stuff out.
Yeah, so the reason why it feels a little bit like that, even though that we are in a seller's market, so based off of the inventory numbers, the number of transactions that we're seeing across the Wasatch Front are down. So it's feeling like there's less sales.
Russell Fawcett with the Stern Team. You can go to sternteam.com, find out your home's true value, because everyone's so interested. Like, what? Even if it's just a curiosity. That's kind of how I started. We started off with curiosity. Next thing you know, we sold and we're out. But Russell Fawcett, thank you with the Stern Team. When we come back, what kind of programs are you offering to sellers? That's what I want to know next.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Jason Jones.
Well, we're still looking at a couple of accidents northbound on the west side belt at 2100 North. It's on the off-ramp there. They've actually pulled the truck out of the grass, so that was at least gone. But all vehicles onto the side of the road. Use caution when you pass through there. Also, if you are northbound on 3200 West, to turn to go eastbound on the 201. A bunch of emergency vehicles off the side of the road there as well. Again, not really affecting traffic, but you're going to have to take that turn a little bit slower. S&S Roofing is your trusted source for quality and affordability. They have been the top roofing company in Utah for over 40 years. Schedule an estimate now. Get a free quote at snsroofinginc.com. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
Looks like cloudy weather with a chance of showers today, and easterly winds pick up Thursday morning, continue into Friday with gusts up to 50 miles an hour. Highs rise into the 70s for the weekend, and right now we're at 43 degrees. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Right on the money. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
I'm looking forward to going in depth with Bankrate. I want their top tips on how to plan for retirement, financially plan for retirement, without having to rely on Social Security. Now, when I was in fourth grade, my fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Johannesson, warned us that Social Security would not be around when we reached fourth graders, retirement age. So I'm 57 years old, and I got to tell you, she was almost right. I'm really worried that this Ponzi scheme the government's been running could collapse before I reach the finish line. So how to plan for retirement without Social Security is a really important topic right now. You and I talked about it yesterday, that Social Security Administration, Dave's saying that we can all anticipate by the year 2033, if you're collecting Social Security, a 21% pay cut in your monthly check.
It's such a great way to describe it, the Ponzi scheme, because we're not collecting on it, but we're paying into it. And the guarantees are just not there. Now, I think practically speaking, the U.S. government has to honor this on some level, but you can expect a sharp decrease in benefits. It's just the math doesn't work out right now. So that's why we wanted to take Mrs. Johannesson's recommendation, a few years ago that says, don't plan on it. Okay, well, how do I go about if I don't want to plan around having Social Security?
James Royal, he's a principal writer with Bankrate. Thanks for jumping on the line with us. It may be a little late for me, but honestly, thanks to her advice, in the 1970s, I have tried to plan for retirement without needing to rely on Social Security. I don't know if it'll be 100% foolproof, but give us your hot tips on how we can do this.
Well, that's absolutely the approach you need to take. You really want to be prepared regardless of what the politicians decide is going to happen to Social Security. And the thing is, because this is still 9-10 years out, and potentially longer depending on how things shake out, you have time to act. And that's really the approach you need to take is you've got time to act, figure out how things are working, and then get on it. And the good thing is that Americans do have retirement plans, tax-advantaged retirement plans that can help them get that retirement that they want.
Over my lifetime, I will likely pay hundreds of thousands of dollars into Social Security. I mean, they're taking 6-something% out of every one of my paychecks. I think my employer throws in another 6% as well. So there's a lot of money going into it. If I am planning to not receive Social Security, how much money do I need to save in addition to, say, my 401k or an IRA, something like that?
Well, I think it's important to understand, too, that nobody is talking about completely eliminating the program, right? We're talking about a substantial reduction in the benefits. So basically today, the more money is being drained from that Social Security bucket than that's coming into it. And so in the future, at least according to current projections, what will be able to be paid out is what's going into it. So really, ultimately, that means that individuals have to make up that shortfall on them by themselves. And so through things like a 401k that allows you to save on a pre-tax basis and then invest in potential high return assets like stock funds, or an IRA, which is available to any working American who earns earned income, can save. So ultimately, you want to think about making up that shortfall. And the thing is, time is your biggest ally here. So if you start earlier, you will have to save less money to get where you want to go.
I love this because it makes it feel doable. So what you're saying is it's a $400 a month shortfall in Social Security, for example. Make the goal making make up that $400. So that feels manageable, and that could be done through $100 or $200 a month into an IRA now, or a 401k, buffering your 401k with more of a contribution as well. Am I on the right track there, James?
Yeah, exactly. So at some point in the future, you would receive some amount of money. Well, you can think about that as contributions that you need to make today to make up that shortfall in the future. And so again, particularly because time is your biggest ally here, the sooner you start, the sooner you figure out how that retirement plan works. You can then think about investing. Stocks on average have gone up about 10% a year. That's for the S&P 500 as a whole, which is a big stock index. So you can sort of figure that back, how much you need to save today to make up that shortfall in the future. And that's the thing is, even if it's a fairly substantial amount of money, that time is a huge element in helping you make up that difference. And so that's why Americans really want to act as soon as possible. Ultimately, bank rate surveys have shown year after year that not saving enough for retirement is Americans' number one financial regret. And so starting today is really the first step toward that process.
James Royal, thank you for joining us from Bankrate.
I love it. Puts it in context, puts it in perspective. You and I were talking about this segment off air, and you said, there's no way I could financially make up that full 6% and replace that entire Social Security check if it's, if the program just goes away. What James just said to us is a light bulb moment for me is, no, look at it more like there will be cuts to the program, so you'll have to make up the shortfall. I'm thinking about, how about saving a little money in terms of spending cuts in my own home, and instead of, too many lattes in a month or whatever it is, putting that money and dedicating that more money toward more into my IRA or 401k.
If you were trying to completely replace Social Security and you weren't going to get anything, you'd have to save hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you're looking at just making up the difference, this 20% reduction that we expect to see in the next 10 years or so, That's about $5,000 a year. So if you're trying to make that up, think, okay, can I squirrel away $5,000 a year for the next 10, 15, 20 years? Well, that would make up the difference.
Straight ahead, we just heard from Russell Fawcett at the Stern team that we are still in a seller's market. So there's got to be some great tips that he's going to bring to us regarding how to be the buyer that wins the bid. And one of those is something that Dave learned a lot about. They're called love letters. That's right, where buyers write love letters, air quotes, to the seller in hopes that the seller will love their offer the most. So let's see if those are the winning element when it comes to buying a home next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
If you have a family member that is struggling with addiction, whether they're currently struggling with it or they're in recovery, and you're just not quite sure what you can do as a family member or a loved one, Renaissance Ranch wants to offer you some of that support.
Renaissance Ranch absolutely wants you to create healing and hope for yourself and for your family, and for also all of your family members by attending these online free classes that are offered. They're wonderful and they're well attended, and I really appreciate that Renaissance Ranch are making these free to the public, Dave.
I remember growing up, my dad was a alcohol and drug therapist, worked with youth primarily, and I was able to see how difficult that can be on families. That's why this is such a great resource. All you have to do is go to renaissanceranch.com to learn about these free online classes. It's for spouses, parents, there's a women's support group, or even a couples recovery group.
RenaissanceRanch.com. Remember, they're faith-based and clinically proven for more than 20 years.
I'm Andy Farnsworth.
And I'm Kellyanne Halverson.
And we're hosts of KSL's Fan Effect podcast, and we're excited to share with you our knowledge
and arguments
on everything pop culture and fandom. Listen regularly on your favorite podcast platform.
And remember, that's Fan Effect with an E.
Russell Fawcett with the Stern team is joining us right now. You're the Director of Operations there, Russ, and we've talked about interest rates. We've talked about the hot markets versus the cold markets. At the Stern team, what kind of programs are out there that you're offering to sellers?
Yeah, so we've got a number of different programs that we offer. We've really put a lot of thought behind it because not every home is the same. So starting out, we do have a quick cash offer that we can come and, essentially take all the headaches away with the moving process and give you a quick cash offer. We also have, kind of more of the...
Well, what do you mean you can come in and give just a cash offer?
Yeah, so we have investors that we work with that are willing to pay cash for your home. And so that means we come in, we work with you. If we can make a number work for you, we're going to pay cash. It's, you're going to move on your timeline, and there's not the showings, there's not the prepping for, showings or anything like that.
That sounds like it could be an option for people who don't want to open up their house to, foot traffic every single weekend.
Yeah, so typically with the cash offer, though, you are going to leave a little bit of money on the table. So that is the quickest, most convenient way to sell your home. But, you do give up a little bit on your price. And so that's where our other options come in. And, if you're looking at maybe your home needs a little bit of repairs. And so we can bring in our handyman, we can bring in our cleaners, get your home ready for the market. That's an option. And then we also have our platinum marketing plan where we're going to roll out everything of, getting you everywhere online, social media marketing, like everything to get the maximum amount of exposure. That coupled with, home ready to, get your home ready to sell is what's going to get you the most amount of money.
Russell Fawcett, thank you so much for joining us with the Stern team. If you're interested in learning your home's true value, go to sternteam.com. This is so easy. You'll find out exactly what your home is really worth. Just visit sternteam.com.
With interest rates coming back down, I bet the real estate market will pick back up in 2024. We're already seeing that, Tim.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter how the market is doing when you have the right team. So if you're looking to sell your house, now you want to downsize or you need more space, you need the Stern team.
The Stern team has taught us, I can think of a handful of things that I would worry about if I was buying or selling, but there are 100 details that are involved in selling a home, and they have lots of people that are handling every detail so nothing falls through the cracks.
And they have so many different options. I mean, I worked with Cammie there at the Stern team, and she was awesome. But if you need an instant cash offer, you can do that. If you need to buy before you sell, you can do that. They have flexible fees.
They also have people that they represent that are looking to buy a home, so maybe they can make that perfect connection within the Stern team.
So don't put off selling your house or buying a house because you think the market isn't just right. The market is right with the Stern team.
Go online to sternteam.com or just Google the Stern team.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, cities in the Alpine District debating where to draw the lines if the district is split up. Second, the United States delaying a shipment of bombs to Israel as it prepares to move in on the city of Rafah in Gaza. And third, the northern Wasatch Front expecting downslope winds again this week. Right now, 43 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Glad the Stern team sticking around. Russell Fawcett in studio with us to train buyers on how to have the best offer. Very important topic, especially given what happened with Dave's situation.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. Okay, so this is the first time I've ever sold a house. I've owned my home for 22 years. We bought it from a family friend, essentially. So we've never gone through the process. So this has been very eye-opening for me, Russell. And as we're going through offers and cleanings, all this stuff, when our realtor was presenting to us the offers, and we had like 9 offers, it was a lot of different offers. After we had accepted this offer, we asked, well, what do we know about the family? Because we realized we knew nothing about the family. And he said, that's on purpose, though they did write you a love letter. I'm like, what in the world is a love letter? So first of all, help our listeners understand, what is a love letter?
Yeah, so when the market, kind of got crazy, people started sending love letters. And when we say love letter, essentially it's an introduction to them as the buyer stating why they should sell the home. But you have to be careful with those love letters because they can cross some lines.
Hey, talk about that because I've gotten some as well in the past, and I think we proceed with caution as to whether we open up the love letter and read them. And I think in some cases, I hate to hurt the buyer's feelings. I haven't read them because it's all transactional for me. It's not emotional. I know that sounds like I have no soul, but it truly is all about business at that point. But talk about where those lines can get crossed so the buyers really understand why your love letter might not get read by the seller.
Yeah, so really what it is when you're selling your home, you have to be aware of the fair housing. And essentially what that says is you can't discriminate based off of race, religion, sex. There, a number of things. And when you write a love letter, if you include, the example that they have on the National Association of Realtors website is, let's say you put a picture of your family in front of a Christmas tree and say, we can see ourselves celebrating Christmas in your home. It sounds harmless, right? But what they said is by showing that, it's saying, okay, you believe in Christmas, you could be Christian. You're showing your family, which could then bring up race or your familiar status. And so
we can't discriminate that way.
Just even something like that,
it's against the law. Yeah.
A buyer could say, well, you went with them because they align with your beliefs or things like that. And so really, if you are going to send a love letter, we've actually been advised not to present those. But if they are presented or if you write one, you want to bring it more back to the transaction. And that is, my credit's great. I have a big down payment, things like that.
Yeah, and that was really, our realtor didn't want to show us anything because he's like, I'm afraid that you're going to fall in love with this company or this family, And then all of a sudden I lose all power to negotiate because you're like, give them everything, every concession because I love this family so much. He said very much this, let's just keep it to transactional. This is a good offer because they're putting money down. They've got this offer. There was a lot that goes into it, trying to remove some of the emotion. I can absolutely see how I could fall in love with a family and say, oh, I can just see them and those little kids playing on our jungle gym. So, yeah, I'll just make all these concessions when I wouldn't necessarily need to.
Right. And again, bringing it back to the kids, if you sell it because of kids, that could be a fair housing violation.
Yes.
There you go. Russell Fawcett in studio with the Stern team. He's the director of operations. Okay, so let's put the notion of love letters aside. What else is going to make a buyer stand out in a transaction?
Yeah, so I've got a couple of them. I would say the number one thing you want to do is actually give a call to the seller, the seller's agent, and find out what's important to the seller. That is by far the most important thing because, again, you could throw down a cash offer when they want the most amount of money or like different things. Maybe
they want to be out in 3 weeks.
They want to be out in 3 weeks, or they're building a new home and they actually want to stay in the home for 90 days, but they want to get it sold so they know they can actually move into the home. So number one, I would say find out what's important to the seller and see if you can match that.
That's a great tip.
Number two is making sure that you get pre-approved, not just pre-qualified. So what that means is as a buyer, you've actually went through the underwriting before making an offer. So really all your offer would be contingent upon would be that appraisal. So you can say, I'm essentially just like a cash buyer. We just need to get the appraisal to make sure the home appraises for the loan. So that would be another simple step that I would do. And then, as we go through, kind of the next ones would be to waive contingencies. So what that means is like, I'm not going to do an inspection or we're not going to have a due diligence period.
Well, so I don't like the approach of not doing an inspection because it is, this is probably most families is going to be your largest investment. But what I have seen is the buyer makes sure the sale is not contingent upon what is found in an inspection, but they still send in an inspector just to make sure they know what they're getting into. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so that's where we get into kind of more of the non-refundable earnest money.
Okay.
And so that's what it is if you're waiving contingencies, because if that inspection comes back and the reason you got it was because you were worried about something. And let's say, the home tests positive for meth. And you're like, that is where I draw the line. I'm not buying this home. Or it has a foundation issue. It's going to cost $60,000 to bring that foundation up. I'm going to cancel. At that point, that's when your earnest money would be returned to the seller. And that's another way of making that non-refundable, but also putting a lot of earnest money down shows the seller that you're serious about the purchase.
What is a lot of earnest money? Is there a percentage? Should you be looking at $1,000, $10,000, $50,000? What's earnest money or how much?
Yeah, so a lot of it depends on your price point. I would say kind of a normal earnest money is about 1%. So anything above that becomes more attractive. We've seen during, again, kind of the craziness, we saw earnest money upwards of $50,000 that was non-refundable upon acceptance. They were just like, we're buying this house no matter what, and if we don't, you get $50,000. And so those types of offers are ones that I feel like you're buying your most expensive asset. Like you want to make sure that you have some type of protection. But again, if you're in a very, very competitive situation, that's the things that buyers are doing to make sure they win.
Russell Fawcett, we got 30 seconds. Buyers can still expect to be in a mix of multiple offers?
Yeah. So again, if you're in the top 10% of price and top 10% of condition, that home probably is going to see multiple offers. We're still in that seller's market. But if you're in higher price points, or if you even look at homes that have been on the market a while, you may not have those multiple offers right now.
Russell Fawcett with the Stern team. Thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. These are great tips. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. If you just tuned in at the last second and we're like, I'm a buyer and I want to know all of these tips, I'm going to post this full segment in its entirety after the show to my Debbie Dujanovic Reports Facebook page. So you'll find it there. Russell, make sure you go on and like that post as well. We always appreciate you have so many great tips, and we appreciate you showing up here and leaving it all on the table for our listeners.
When we come back, let's talk about election and trust. That is something that obviously has a few people in Congress here in Utah a little bit nervous.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour, the Great Salt Lake has risen to its highest level in 7 years, only about a year and a half since it fell to the lowest level in recorded history. Great Salt Lake Deputy Commissioner Tim Davis says this is great news, but it really only buys us time to figure out how to keep the lake healthy in years to come.
During this time period when the lake has come up, when Mother Nature has given us a reprieve, that we figure out how to effectively, how much water we need to get to the lake every year on average, and then how do we make that happen.
The lake is still 3 feet shy of its target healthy level. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Major storms and tornadoes have caused damage across the upper Midwest. A FedEx shipping center in Portage, Michigan was badly hit. About 50 employees there trapped inside after the storm moved through. More than 40 tornadoes have been reported across 11 states in the past 2 days. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up 74 points on the day, while the NASDAQ is down 52. And our KSL weather, we're looking for some big winds of the next couple of days. KSL News Time, 11:01.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the nines, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Held over due to popular demand. This is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates. This weekend only, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Paid for by government. Did you hear? A secret hoard of $10 Gold Liberty coins from the late 1800s to early 1900s has been found. These gorgeous Gold Liberty coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck, and less than 200 of these gold coins are available in any specific date. Coin experts are calling the secret U.S. gold coin discovery a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and you can own a piece of the hoard. When you call, you are guaranteed a specific date Gold Liberty struck at the iconic Philadelphia Mint. With limited availability, you must call now. These historic dated gold coins are still in uncirculated condition with brilliant luster. That's anywhere from 117 to 144 years of history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-800-386-8018. Call now and you'll receive a free bonus, a $50 value free with every order. Call 1-800-386-8018 now to secure your $10 Gold Liberty coins before they sell out. That's 1-800-386-8018.
When the weather warms up, it's like a stampede. Except instead of dust stirred up by hundreds of hooves, it's a cascade of phone calls to Advanced Window Products. This is Jeff Kaplan. Soon as the sun shines and the snow's gone, people want new windows and frames from Utah Utah's #1 custom window maker, and the wait for installation grows longer. But right now, you can get near the front of the line by calling for a quote and get $2,500 off when you purchase 10 windows or more. That's on top of the incredible savings for the highest quality double-pane windows and frames, any style, any color. See, at Advanced Window Products, they actually build the windows here in Utah, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. There's no middleman, and they can pass the savings on to you. They even offer buy now, pay later. So get in before the wait grows longer and get the $2,500 off. Get your new windows this spring. Make the call. Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or visit AdvancedWindowsUSA.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meeks.
Trouble in traffic remains at the junction of the 21st South Freeway near I-215's West Belt, so about 3200 west. You're going to see a lot of vehicles over to the right shoulder, and cleanup continues of an accident. I-215's West Belt at 2100 north is on the exit ramp over to the right. When adventure calls, a new Murdoch Hyundai is the answer. Lease a new 2024 Tucson for only $365 per month or 3.99% for 5 years. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Cloudy with a chance of showers today. Easterly winds pick up Thursday morning, continue into Friday with gusts up to 50 miles an hour possible. Highs rise into the 70s for the weekend. And right now we're at 45 degrees. It's mostly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
Boyd Matheson has been spending quite a bit of time talking about elections and election security and trying to tamp down what appears to be still a number of concerns about the security of our elections. I've always felt like we run, safe and secure elections in this state and in this nation, but people have doubts.
Well, I will say I feel extremely confident in what we do, but not everyone does it like we do it. So, we've heard some horror stories across the country of the way other places have done things. And I think that's the difference. When you have a good experience, there's a lot of trust. But for the other folks that are a little loosey-goosey, a little less trust, Boyd.
Yeah, and especially as you look at the big picture in terms of nationally, even though there are some areas that don't do it nearly as well as Utah does, when you look at it like at a presidential level, the fact that we do it on such a local level makes it nearly impossible for someone to really impact an election in a negative way, because the numbers it would just take such a ginormous effort to make it happen in a certain district, in a certain county, in a certain state. And so it really is hard. The math is really hard to say, oh, that actually changed the course of a presidential election. The realities of that are much more conspiracy than they are reality.
So you're part of a big discussion surrounding election trust, election security at Utah Valley University yesterday. I was glad to see that there was, some really heavy hitters in terms of election security. Deidre Henderson, our lieutenant governor, participated, among others. What was your biggest takeaway from that? From yesterday's session?
Yeah, so the session that I moderated, we actually took the media standpoint in all of this of how do we create trust in the process in terms of elections. So there were a lot of things that had the LGs and some state attorney generals from around the country, and those were real specific in terms of how do you do that? How do you make sure you have the right safeguards in place? And then we had a panel that included Lauren Gustis from the Tribune, the executive editor there, and then Doug Wilkes, of course, from the Deseret News. And we had what's the role of media in that? Because, of course, we have this distrust of elected officials. We have a distrust of the institutions of government. And we have a distrust of media across the country. And so it makes it a little hard when we start talking about elections of who are we actually going to trust in that whole process. And so to me, the really interesting thing was the discipline that both Lauren Gustis at the Tribune and Doug Wilkes are looking at in terms of how they're going to report out what takes place during the course of the elections. And it was really refreshing to me to just see the discipline and talking about being transparent in terms of how they're going to go about reporting on stories and things that are, leading up or running up to an election day.
Was there a common theme that they had heard or challenges in the media that we run into that the people question when it comes to voting?
Yeah, and it actually is based off of a Pew Research study that just came out this spring. And that is that when we look at the big things, at least that I worry about, are misinformation and disinformation. And that we are not ready for in the country. And so both of them, as obviously heads of big media organizations, looking at, well, what can we do? How do we go about changing that dynamic? And it starts by reporting things that took place at Utah Valley University yesterday in terms of this is why you can trust the election. This is why you can have confidence if you cast your ballot. It's going to get counted and move through, as opposed to doing a lot of the sensational stories, the clickbaity stories, which are great for revenue for media organizations, but do a lot to undermine the trust and confidence of the American people.
If I have a little bit of a self-criticism in the media, and this is speaking more nationally than here at the local level, is there is such a race to be first, to have that information out because we're so impatient. We want to know who the winner is, so we make predictions and we call races. We do it so quickly because we want to be first instead of saying we want to be right.
Yeah, and that was, I'm so glad you raised that because it was a really interesting point in the discussion. It used to be, and you're both of vintage enough to remember when we wanted every race in the country called by the time the 10 o'clock news came on because we're not going to bed not knowing what the result is. And what we have to remember is that instant certainty is actually the enemy of truth, and it undermines trust.
So I'm going to totally push back, having been an elections reporter live for many, many years while the results were coming in, is I specifically remember candidates, a particular candidate, trying to push me to call the election in their favor. And I was the wall. I was the absolute, I will never do that until we have back at the mothership gone through all of the information and data that we need to go through from the county clerk's offices. So this notion that the media is jumping out and jumping ahead of everything, that has never been my experience. There are people who look through all of the data and make sure before we pull the trigger and post anything online that we have that information 100% confirmed.
And I think there's two elements to this. I think what Dave's talking about is very different from calling the election. I don't know anybody in the state that is calling any election until the AP has gone through, and the AP has been doing this for however many years. I actually had the head of the AP
the Associated Press,
on talking about that.
Great.
And their accuracy is like 99.9% of all the races in the country that they call.
And they
don't get it wrong.
It's too close to call.
Yeah,
they will
they'll
put that
wait.
on their
They'll
website
wait.
for days.
Yeah, and so I think this is not about calling the race. It's everything leading up to it. And how often do we rapidly report a story about what a candidate said or didn't say, where they were, or something they did in their past, something that gets planted. This was an interesting thing. We had a conversation about the echo chambers that happen. So again, good disciplined reporting is you have two sources, but how often is that second source getting fed by the first source? And so you may say, well, I've got two sources on this. I can go with the story, but it may be really fed from the same single source that may have an agenda. And so it's kind of getting underneath those kinds of things in terms of confidence in the reporting.
So let me give you another inside baseball story that happened to me. I got a call here just days before the election when I was the investigative reporter for KSL5 TV. And you want to talk about absolute 100% cautious, proceed with caution. We were pushed by a source regarding a story. It had to do with an opponent in the race, somebody that was challenging this, another candidate. And the information that was fed to us became instantly suspicious and also very concerning that we were being pushed this information just days before the election. And it just appeared to be an attempt to make sure the person that they were, tipping us off to would not win the race. Exactly. We never went with that story. Yeah. We didn't go with that story. And we talked about it. We attempted to confirm it. we couldn't confirm it because it, wasn't true. At least we couldn't find any truth to it. So I think that understanding how the sausage is made, we make it very, very carefully, and we make sure, at least this has been my experience for 3 decades of reporting in Utah. And I can tell you, I fought over a microphone with a candidate who wanted me to call the race in his favor live on television. And it was not here at KSL. It was when I was at Channel 4. And I won that. Fight with a microphone. Yeah,
I'd always take you in that arm wrestle.
There's a reason why I work out every single day, folks. It's so I can make sure that the candidate didn't run away with the microphone and make the announcement. So I just want to assure our listeners that what I've seen in 35 years of, almost here, but 35, 36 years of reporting, we proceed we are very cautious about what we hear and the rumors and the tips that we get.
And that's why the trust in local media is 10 times higher than trust in national media. And then you factor in, I think, another component, and this comes back to how we consume it as individuals, as voters, and that is now with social media, everybody's a reporter, everybody's a blogger, everybody has a thing.
Great point.
And because of that, it has also forced a lot of the national media to react to what is being churned on social media. And so, again, not checking the source, not going through, and so how often do you see all of those things tick out? And that's where the misinformation and the disinformation happen. And so that's up to each one of us to have that kind of personal consumption of say, wait a minute, if it sounds fishy, probably is. I might need to push back.
Absolutely.
And I always tell people that there's 2 ways to do that. You go vertical and you go horizontal. You go vertical in terms of going up the food chain. Who else is reporting that? What else are they saying? And then also going a little bit deeper dive in terms of, are there some statistics? Is there a report? Is there, how many sources are really talking about this and why? And then always checking what's the motivation. It may be someone trying to drive a story as opposed to share some information about a story. So
great stuff,
it's an interesting and complicated, but it requires all of us to be a little more vigilant.
Absolutely.
Especially when so many people are consuming their quote news from social media, which in many cases is not fake news, it's not news, and it could be either misinformation and disinformation, and that is the big thing. We are not prepared as a country for the onslaught of misinformation and disinformation from AI, deep fakes, and a host of other things that I don't think the media is ready for, and I don't think the voters are ready for either.
Boyd Matheson, thank you. Inside
Boyd.
Sources today, it won.
Thanks for getting me going here, Boyd. Straight ahead, remember the transgender bathroom bill that Utah lawmakers passed just a few months ago, regulating which bathroom that people can use based on gender? Well, it has generated 10,000 online complaints to one state agency. 10,000 complaints to one state agency. So we're going to find out what those complaints say. Are they legit? Or are they just bogus bots?
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
If you're looking to lose some weight, maybe 20 to 30 pounds in a month or two, let me tell you about Salt Lake City Fat Loss. They told me that they had the secret to losing up to a pound of fat every single day. And sure enough, after 2 months, I had lost nearly 60 pounds. 57. Every pound matters, so 57 pounds is what I lost in 2 months, and I've been able to keep it off for more than a month. They did it without surgery, without injections. Those were 2 big ones for me. I didn't want surgery and I didn't want injections. And it was simple. There wasn't some complicated algorithm of point counting that I had to jump into. There were no insane exercises where I'm doing sit-ups and arm curls while I do burpees, right? There was no insane exercise that made me lose this weight, and no prepackaged meals, which taught me how to eat for the rest of my life instead of just, hey, yo-yo diet, buddy. So Salt Lake City Fat Loss has been great for me. I feel great. Go ahead and get a free consultation at slcfatloss.com. The website's super easy, slcfatloss.com.
When a Utah police officer leaves home each morning, there are no guarantees. What they'll see and the dangers to their lives and livelihoods. This week, an officer left home like any other day and didn't return. KSL will offer complete coverage as Officer Bill Hoosier's life is memorialized in the line of duty this week on KSL News Radio.
You wouldn't know it, but most financial advisors are put in a box. I'm Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and I want to provide you a little insight about financial advisors. Most financial advisors have to sell what their company requires them to sell, and many advisors have to only adhere to what's called a suitability standard. A suitability standard is a limited standard of care, not requiring what's sold to be best, just suitable. Advisors with this loose standard often have limited investment and product selection. Trajan Wealth is held to a fiduciary standard, which is the highest standard of care in the advisory business. And that's just one of the many reasons we have billions of dollars under our care and attract clients from other advisors. Raise your standards today and call Trajan Wealth. Call 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
Are you really that different than the rest of us?
We are. As a fiduciary, we always focus on what's best for our clients.
What services do you offer besides investing?
We have a team of specialists in financial planning, estate planning, and more.
Your clients rely on you for all that?
Yes, we ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Okay, but you still sell commission-based products, right?
No, because we believe that's a conflict of interest. We prioritize service over sales goals.
So, then how do your fees work?
We have a simple and transparent fee that's a percentage of our clients' portfolios. So we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, we're more different than I thought.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Do you find it exhausting getting up from your favorite chair every day? Say goodbye to discomfort and hello to a world of ease. Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical, and you have so many options when buying a lift chair. For the highest quality, always come to Alpine. Our lift chairs are more than just furniture. They're your ticket to independence and relaxation. Plus, with our spring savings event, we've just marked down some of our chairs that are ready for you to take home. With an unbelievable warranty, you can shop with confidence knowing your comfort is our priority. So stop by any of our 11 locations today and explore our high-quality inventory, or visit us online at alpinehomemedical.com. That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, it wasn't long ago. It was just earlier this year that Utah implemented a new law from Capitol Hill. It requires people to use bathrooms and locker rooms in public schools and government-owned buildings that match their sex assigned at birth. Well, the state auditor's office, of all places, was put in charge of being the bathroom monitor on this. And so they came up with an online complaint form, and they've received 10,000 complaints from the public.
Which, let's be quite honest, is ridiculous. There's no way this is happening at this level. And to see 10,000 complaints makes it sound like everywhere, every time, this is happening in every bathroom. And that's just, frankly, just an impossibility. There's no way that could happen. And I think State Auditor John Dougal is looking at this and with a big old raised eyebrow saying, holy cow, look what can of worms we just opened. John, thanks for joining us.
Hey, great to be with you too.
What's going on here?
Well, clearly we launched this last week. It's a mandate from the legislature for this way to receive complaints. And clearly folks, not just in Utah, but nationwide, perhaps even worldwide, are agitated about various aspects. I think they partly don't understand what our job is, but they are submitting complaint after complaint after complaint to voice their frustration, to gum up the works or attempt to gum up the works and stuff like that. In those almost 10,000 complaints, we haven't seen a single valid complaint.
So are these complaints, are they coming in as like, do they look legit at first? Are your folks having to open them and read through them?
So some of them clearly are gibberish and so forth. Others are just, they're not complaints, they're just protest. I don't like this, I don't like that. And others start to look like they're legitimate complaints, but they're complaining about an entity that has no physical facilities, or they're complaining about, which means they have no bathrooms, or they're complaining about an entity that doesn't even exist and stuff like that. So they're pretty quick to screen out.
So with so many complaints, though, do you have to go through every single one?
We have ways to expedite the screening. So, when they're clearly garbage ones, they're pretty quick to screen. Other ones take a little more time. But one of the key points we're trying to let folks understand is we are not tasked with monitoring the behavior of individuals, of people, nor do we want to. Our job is to look at governmental entities to see whether they have a compliance plan, to see when they upgrade facilities, whether they're meeting statutory requirements.
So
that is what has been tasked on us. Now, I get that, the sponsor of the bill says this is about protecting girls. Unfortunately, for our piece of it, there are much more effective ways to go about doing that than the mandate that was imposed on us. And yet the sponsor had no interest in talking with us, just rammed it through.
So when I think of the auditor's office, I think of financial audits to make sure our taxpayer money is being used wisely by other government agencies. I don't think of it as having to monitor complaints coming in from whether a state, government agency has the proper markings on a bathroom or something of that nature. So how did the state auditor's office, is it in code that the auditor's office would be handling these types of complaints? It was.
It was put into code. Yes, it's a statutory mandate on us.
Well, so how in the world is your office, first of all, how many employees do you have, John?
We have, depending on time of year, between 40 and 50.
So who's assigned to monitor, you've gotten in a week 10,000 complaints? Who would do
Right.
that? How is that possible for somebody to handle that?
Well, at least they're all bogus complaints right now. At some point when you start to get valid complaints, then we'll have to task somebody to go off and investigate those complaints. But this is one of those things, it depends on what the legislature really wants. If the legislature really wants to ensure folks are complying, there are more effective ways to go about doing that.
What
But
are some
that's
of those
where
ways?
I describe. Well, I mean, if you want to make sure that a governmental entity has policies, then you ensure that they submit their policies. Everybody submits a policy, and that way it's easier for people to monitor who has policies and who doesn't, rather than rely on the public to maybe catch somebody that doesn't have one or doesn't quite understand whether or not they have them.
So what's the solution? Have you spoken with the sponsor of the bill, Kira Birkeland? I know she sent us a statement earlier, and she said it's not surprising that activists are taking the time to send false reports, but that isn't a distraction from the importance of the legislation and the protection it provides for women across Utah. And then at the end of it, she said, and by the way, auditing governmental entities and complaints against them is the responsibility of the state auditor's office. So it looks like she pushed right back on you.
Yeah, well, Representative Birkeland clearly has no idea what it takes to audit. She has no interest in discussing with us what it means to audit. The legislature has their own auditors that they could have also assigned to do this task. But, as I said, there are more effective ways to go about doing what I believe it is the legislature desires, rather than this ham-handed approach that they foisted on us without discussion.
State Auditor John Dougal, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Hey, take care.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us on that, as Dave said. And we did invite Kara Birkeland to join the show, and she said she was unavailable today. We'll certainly keep the phone line open for her if she wants to join us at any time.
And it will be interesting to me to see how long these fake complaints continue. Is this just the initial rush? that happen and then people lose interest and move on to something else? Or is this going to be a steady diet to the state auditor's office, email after email, complaint after complaint, that they have to vet? Yeah, there are ways where you can narrow it down, but at some point, somebody's got to put an eye on it and say, is this legitimate or not? And if they start becoming more sophisticated, this could be an incredible time waster.
So my take in just listening to Auditor Dougal's side of it is this system is already broken. If it is the interest of the state legislature to vet legitimate complaints and make sure there's a path for somebody to file a legitimate complaint that state law is being broken by a government entity, this system is not going to work. It's just not going to work long term. There are programs out there that'll continue to fire fake online complaints at Dougal's office for now and evermore. I mean, it doesn't even need to be a real person sitting behind, the computer firing off these complaints. The bots are doing the work for them. So right out of the gates, within just a few days of launching this online complaint form, it just does not seem like it's going to be effective long term. It needs to be closely monitored. Maybe there needs to be an audit of the system down the road to figure out, or the law to figure out what will be the most effective way. But if this continues on much longer, I'd say, got to come up with another plan. Got to sit down and come up with another plan. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's going to be tricky, no question, because it's such a hot button topic. There's obviously going to be people that essentially send out time wasters, protests, stuff like that, and that's very much what this seems to be, is just a time waster in a protest, form.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour: the proposed downtown revitalization plan has the full attention of those who are involved in Salt Lake City's historic Japantown. KSL TV's Lauren Steinbrecher continues her reporting on that situation. She spoke with Roland Yoshinaga, who says Japantown leaders want to be included.
For Japantown advocates at the meeting, the message seemed positive. Roland hopes the plan will include businesses on this street, not just the backside of them, with architectural elements that can enhance and revive Salt Lake City's Japantown.
Japantown buildings are located now right next to the loading docks at the Salt Palace Convention Center. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. After years of troubling reports about colony collapse disorder and dire predictions about the future of the food supply, there's good news from the Beehive. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has determined that in the past 5 years, the country has seen a honeybee population explosion with 1 million new colonies established. Your money at this moment: the Dow Jones average up on the day 77 points, the NASDAQ, though, down 60. And our KSL weather, we're looking for some strong downslope winds the next couple of days. KSL News Time, 11:32.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
One of the things I love about Master Electrical is their upfront pricing guarantee. Now, if you're not quite sure what an upfront pricing guarantee, Debbie knows.
That's right. It means the price that they quote you up front when they come to bid your electrical project is the price that you're going to pay when the project is done, which is amazing.
Because there's nothing worse than trying to prepare for expensive repairs. You prepare for it, you save for it, you're ready, and then the bid is or the invoice is far more than the bid is. You feel double-crossed, and that's why Master Electrical said, we're not going to do that. We're going to honor the bid so you can trust it.
And they do everything from lights to ceiling fans, smoke detectors, generators. We've been talking about the Generac generator that they offer, batteries, even EV chargers.
801-543-2222 is the number. That's an easy one to remember. 801-543-2222.
Guys, are you ready to give up because you think you've tried everything and you're still dealing with loss of energy, poor sleep, weight gain, and even ED? Revive Men's Health Salt Lake City has local medical providers that offer low T and ED treatments customized to each patient's unique physical makeup. By working with a specialized compounding lab, personalized treatments are guaranteed, even when generic pills and supplements haven't worked. It all starts with your free comprehensive exam and consultation. Availability is limited. Book today, and for this month only, Revive offers qualified patients a free 1-month supply of personalized ED medication, plus a free ED treatment producing immediate results. The experts at Revive Men's Health Salt Lake City will work to provide the right treatment for you so you can show up as the best you in all aspects of your life. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or send them a private message at revivemenshealth.com.
Hi, this is Cameron Rising. Growing up, summer break was the best, but I've learned that a lot of kids don't feel the same. That's because summer means their school breakfast and lunch won't be available. What's awesome is the food bank helps. Join me and Les Olson IT by giving food, time, or money. Take your donations to any Les Olson IT branch or the food bank, and find more info at lesolson.com/food. Let's support our community together.
We had a company propose a power line route to come right down through the center of town with 160-foot high voltage power lines.
A resident of our community reached out to Celeste and just asked for a statement, and she did much better than that. She actually came down to our very small town and met with us.
And we really appreciate Celeste and everything that she did for the town of Leamington.
Celeste showed up for me.
She'll show up for you.
And she shows up for Utah.
Paid for by Celeste for Congress.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
The crash where the car went off the roadway, 3200 West, 2100 South on the right, has just cleared, but we still have right lanes blocked in downtown Salt Lake City for utility work, eastbound 500 South at 1300 East. Studies show being in nature improves your mental and physical health. Can't get out of the city? Take a nature break at Tracy Aviary in Liberty Park. More information and tickets at tracyaviary.org. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Cloudy with a chance of showers today, and easterly winds will pick up Thursday morning, continuing into Friday with gusts up to 50 miles an hour possible. Highs rise into the 70s for the weekend. And right now we're at 46 degrees with cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
David and I wanted to talk about some of the most surprising things that we learned this morning about the revitalization zone in downtown Salt Lake City that'll include a redo of the Delta Center to include both hockey and basketball, and then that 2-block area east, which I think sounds super exciting.
I think the biggest surprise for me, because during the legislative session, so much was being discussed about the sports events, the venues. So the possible Major League Baseball funding, same thing with hockey, what's going to happen with the Jazz, where are they going to move? All the focus was on the sports teams. So I guess my mind went exclusively to the well-being and what's going to be built for the sports teams. So to see the plans starting to unfold with such a focus on other things than sports, that was surprising to me. The fact that they are interested in preserving the cultural and the arts and the symphony, all of these things, instead of, hey, what's just best for the sports teams?
If you're completely lost about what we've learned earlier today, there are some new nuggets that are being Easter egged at us a little bit at a time about this revitalization zone. This wasn't a big aha moment in all of our discussions today, but they are going to shift the entrance to the Delta Center so it faces east, which is a small shift. It kind of faces northeast now and kind of a sort of a canted way. It's kind of a weird anyway. So they're going to make it face east, and then they're going to go 2 blocks east. And they're looking at different options for Abravanel Hall, which is hit some heartstrings. People worried about what's going to happen to the symphony. There's some plans in the works for that. It's either a remodel, which could cost, how much did you say?
I saw some reports that said the remodel could cost hundreds of millions.
Because it's a 1979 building and it needs some upgrades.
Lots of compliance issues and redesigns in general. Renovations are extremely expensive. The Jazz just renovated the Delta Center just a few years ago, and it was extremely expensive.
But there will be room for arts, a lot of room for arts, as well as sports. So this is not an either or. This is, this will be a marriage. It'll be a marriage between the sports arena and the arts. And it sounds like that 2-block area will become walkable, which is super exciting, and then lead over to City Creek Mall.
Yeah, right now, the way it is designed, if anyone's been downtown, everyone's been downtown. You've got City Creek, the Salt Palace, Delta Center, and Gateway. And there's really not a comfortable flow between any of those things. It's kind of disjointed. So this plan, this idea that there literally and truly is going to be a flow between these several city blocks is revolutionary.
So we talked to Dee Brewer live on the line at 9:20 this morning, kind of right out of the gates of the show. He's with the Downtown Alliance. And he talked about, there is absolutely room and plans for, arts and for sports.
The arts are another key driver in the downtown economy. And that same measurements of customer days, over half of those top visitation days downtown had 8 or more arts and culture events going on. And so symphony, opera, Broadway. The symphony is absolutely a part of the future. It has to be. And all of these arts organizations contribute to the vitality of our city.
And the reason this is so important to me, and the reason I think this actually works, this plan works, is because the Jazz only play 41 nights a year. The new hockey club's only going to play 41 nights a year. That's only 82 days. Mm-hmm. So you have to make sure you're not completely dependent on the sports teams. You have to have the symphony. You have to have the opera. You have to have plays. You have to bring people to this area in a million different ways, not just this narrow sliver of hockey and basketball fans.
So you and I just, during the break, were talking about, what is our most surprising elements of it? And you just spilled yours there to our listeners. And I want to say mine. So I started thinking about the announcement that was made yesterday at City Hall during the meeting that Smith Entertainment Group will pony up, sounds like more than $3 billion for this project. We already knew from many discussions previously that taxpayers will, pay into to the tune of $1 billion over a number of years by a slight increase in the sales tax just in Salt Lake City. So when I start doing the math, I guess the most shocking thing to me is what your money really doesn't buy for a 2-block area. What is that? $4 billion, probably more dollars for just a 2-block area? It's shocking to me. I guess I have no clue as to how much construction costs. I had no idea, Dave. And that number is just eye-popping to me.
It is, and almost sounds excessive. To be quite honest, if we're talking about 2 or 3 city blocks, you'd think we could probably bulldoze everything and start with a clean slate and come in under that. But there is an investment, and there are incentives, and there's a taxpayer where they're going to help fund. It's extremely expensive, and construction costs are out of control. I don't know how or what the right number is. It's not my expertise, but as far as just raw numbers, it does sound like an incredible amount of money.
Well,
for a very small footprint, a postage stamp.
I think that's how much things cost. I just think I just did not. I hadn't wrapped my brain around that. So we get 2 blocks for $4 billion. I'm sure it's going to look amazing when they're done.
That price tag.
But you pile on top of that what's going on the west side with Major League Baseball in the stadium and the investment there in the Power District, there's some serious money being dropped in downtown Salt Lake. And I feel like when investors start or visionaries start dropping that kind of money, that's because they believe in it.
You would have to.
You believe in
Yes.
it. Yeah, you don't just go spend the money unless you totally are all in.
And I think we've been a little hesitant to go all in on Utah. I think we have seen this growth over the last 10 years, the fastest growth in the entire nation. I think we've been hesitant to really lean into this and say, oh, yeah, no, we're awesome and everybody wants to come here, not just to live here and raise your family, but businesses, major, huge businesses want to come here. This investment from the Smith Entertainment Group, from the Larry Miller Group, this is a bet on Utah. And they are confident and they think it's going to pay off. It better, because these are monumental investments into Utah.
Straight ahead, one of the largest school districts in Utah, Granite School District, now considering sweeping changes for students and cell phone use once they hit the school building, once they get inside the doors and into the halls. We're going to break down what those changes look like. And earlier in the show, we took a call from a former teacher who said, there's a huge problem with this plan. It'll make teachers the bad guys not so fast. That's next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
I've got Adam Kirkham, who's the president of the Utah Association of Realtors, here to talk about changes to the home buying process because of a national settlement. Adam, what does the settlement mean for Utah home buyers?
Great question. And while we don't know exactly how everything will play out, we do expect to see some changes starting in July. One of those changes is the requirement that a buyer will need to sign a formal representation agreement with their realtor at the start of the home buying process.
Is this a big change?
It is a big change for most of the country. Here in Utah, we've been signing these representation agreements for years. It's more of a procedural change of when the agreement will need to be signed, and that's before you start the home buying process.
How can a buyer learn more about changes?
Contact a realtor. They know these changes. They've been educated on them. They are keeping up on this settlement and the market demands, so you don't have to go about purchasing a home on your own.
If I don't have a realtor, where do I go?
You go to utahrealtors.com.
Progressive presents 10 things on a food truck owner's to-do list that are harder than getting a commercial auto insurance quote. Stocking the fridge, prepping the stations, finding employees that get along well, finding employees that actually do their job. Looking at you, Gary. Balancing the books, balancing the flavors, having a fresh menu and fresh produce and fresh meat, but never a fresh mouth. But the easiest thing on a small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you can save on commercial auto insurance. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you have a drain that's clogged or backed up, after you've tried the plungers and products, the next step usually involves some kind of drain snake or cabling equipment. You see, sometimes the blockage is far enough down the line that you need special equipment that most homeowners just don't have. That's where the Drains Department at Any Hour Services can help. A drain snake can clear most blockages and get the water flowing again, and clearing blocked drains is what our Drains Department does day in and day out. So if you're a homeowner with a drain line that's clogged or backed up and you'd like one of our drain technicians to come and snake the line for you, it's only $29. Yep, you heard that right. Any Hour Services will snake any drain line with normal access for only $29. Sinks, showers, tubs, toilets, floor drains, laundry drains, even that sewer main line that connects to the city. We'll snake any line for just $29. For help with your drain issues, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7700. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
The KSL News Radio Movie Show comes to My Hearing Centers this Friday from 10 to 1. But first, discover what My Hearing Centers can do for you. My Hearing Centers uses advanced technology to diagnose and treat hearing loss. These comprehensive evaluations determine the best treatment options. Then enjoy lifetime support with regular check-ins, cleaning, and maintenance. Call My Hearing Centers at 801-701-1629. 801-701-1629 for more details. My Hearing Centers has offices from Ogden to St. George.
Put the equity in your home to work with a home equity line of credit and get 6.49% APR for the first 6 months. Learn more at cypresscu.com.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Nimble Fulfillment is a long-standing 3PL servicing local and national businesses. Nimble also focuses on community issues, providing support and sponsorship to local organizations. General Manager Alex Parker joins us with more.
Since opening its doors in 2005, Nimble Fulfillment has helped local and national businesses with their operational needs. From fulfillment, kitting, and assembly to customer service support, Nimble has found ways to solve logistical problems businesses face. We work with our clients to provide customized solutions as retail and e-commerce landscape continues to change. Locally, we realize the need to be a trusted partner in our community, provide support for organizations helping bring more women in the workforce, and educate our young on careers in supply chain. Nimble has been an active founding sponsor of the Silicon Slopes Women in Leadership chapter, an advocate for Tech Moms nonprofit organization in Utah, and sponsor of United Way's Salt Lake ELS Lunch and Learns. Help us take your business to the next level. Learn more about ways Nimble can help you grow at getnimble.com.
For almost 20 years, Nimble has been dedicated to helping businesses scale and helping its community. They understand the challenges of navigating the complex world of logistics and are here to help your business simplify the process. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, advocates for Salt Lake's historic Japantown want to be included in the planning for an entertainment district in downtown Salt Lake. Second, the United States has seen an encouraging recovery in the number of honeybees. And third, a strong wind gust brought a tree down on top of some cars in Holiday. Right now, we're at 47 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
We spent the day earlier this. There we go. We spent a good portion of the show earlier in the day talking about what could amount to a bell-to-bell. Keep your cell phone in your backpack in the Granite School District for kindergartners all the way up to junior high, and then once up to high school. And then if you're in high school, if the board approves this, Dave, it would be you could have it out in the hall, but when you're in your seat, you got to put your cell phone in your backpack.
There's such a mishmash of policies going on right now, from school to school, district to district. And I think what, at least even at the district level, people are trying to figure out, can we wrap our arms around one plan? Because you could go from elementary to junior high and high school and have radically different plans right now. So what they're asking in the Granite School District is, hey, if I'm a teacher, I would like to be able to band together and that we all are on the same page.
Ben Horsley of the Granite School District, Chief of Staff, he was attending a board meeting last night, spoke to the board about this, and the board looks poised to move forward. We asked him to join the show in the 9 o'clock hour, and here's what he said about that consistency, Dave, that you just spoke of.
Well, I think it speaks to the need for consistency across the board and ensuring that even though some of our schools may have policies in place, kids are connected enough and parents are connected enough. They know what other schools around them are doing. And if that's inconsistent, it builds disdain, and it makes it more difficult for enforcement at the locations where there is more restrictions. So and our kids are more mobile than ever before, and that's upward mobility too. If you have a different type of restriction at the junior high than you do at the high school, from the elementary and so forth, again, building that consistency, I think, is what our administrators are looking for.
And we were listening. We took calls on this, Debbie, and we heard from teachers. Teachers were calling like crazy because they said, oh, if I throw on a movie, the kids are not watching the movie at all, or we're not watching the presentation. They've got their heads down in their phones with their AirPods in, and they're watching their own stuff.
Have you ever given a speech? Like you're at a podium and you're talking to a group of people and they have their heads in their cell phones, and you're like, why am I even here?
I go to church every Sunday.
Does that happen?
There's a lot of heads buried in phones.
So first of all, it's just for lack of a better word, it's just rude. But also, you're not hearing anything that the person is presenting or giving, so you're not learning if you have your cell phone and in front of you in school. And that's the objective of, first of all, paying for schools. We pay a lot of money to keep our schools operating and keeping them as a place to educate kids. And then just, also the fact that, this is just wasting precious time. Like put your cell phone away. I don't think it's that big of a deal. There are exceptions. They say for certain learning plans, they will allow cell phones if the teacher says, hey, we need to use your cell phones for this particular lesson, and this is the way we're going to do it. We're all going to get our cell phones out. And also for emergencies. They made that clear. So if parents are concerned about this, your child will be allowed to use their cell phone in an emergency.
And I think we have plans. You referenced them, an IEP, Individualized Education Plan, I think is what it's called. The IEP, if your child genuinely needs that to learn, for medical reasons, for anxiety, whatever it might be, then you can jump through a few hoops. That's totally fine. That is in place right now. But I tell my kids right now, there's no such thing as multitasking. Like multitasking does not exist.
I like that.
Because
tell us more.
There's no way, I tell them, there's no such thing as multitasking. You're just ignoring two things at once. And
where did you come up with that? That's brilliant. You need to start making bumper stickers.
There you go.
That's so good, Dave.
Back-to-back
I love
bumper
this.
stickers.
Say that again.
There's no such thing as multitasking. It's just ignoring two things at once.
High five.
And that's what's happening in our schools right now. Kids, I'm telling you, I know this because my son, he had his hair kind of long. He's like, yeah, I'll just put in my headphones. And you couldn't tell I had my AirPods in because my hair covers it up. I'm like, dude, what are we doing here? Like, that's not the plan.
So we do that in school?
Yeah, you listen to a little music. He's like, I like to have a little soundtrack to my math class. Like, you're not listening to your soundtrack and doing your math. Again, you're just ignoring two things.
So this goes to, I can attest to this. So every morning when I wake up early, I'm reading headlines for our show and listening to Tim and Amanda, I try to sneak in a word game because I feel like it's keeping me sharper longer. And I have my headset on and I'm either listening to a podcast or I'm listening to music, depending on what my mood of the morning is when my alarm goes off at 4:30. But you can imagine how chipper I am at 4:30 in the morning. I have a hard time focusing on the word game if I have a podcast.
Yep.
And now music is different. I can do both. But I have a hard time if I'm listening and trying to digest the information coming at me in the podcast, or when I'm listening to Tim and Amanda, same thing. I'm not taking in all of the information because I'm focused on that word game and I'm in it to win it. So it makes it be. We did hear from a teacher. As you said, we heard from a couple of teachers. We did hear from one that says just probably not going to work. She just retired, or it sounds like she was working for quite some time in the Davis district. And she said when she tried to take away a cell phone or cell phones, she would get threatened.
Like physically threatened.
From the kids.
Yeah.
That's a scary place to put teachers in, I think.
It's one thing if you're a kindergarten teacher. Right, the kids are compliant.
They're so cute.
So cute and adorable. You say, give me your phone, they'll give it your phone. Okay, but once you start dealing with a 16, 17, 18-year-old, that can put you in a very difficult situation. It's why when I look at the crackdown or the enforcement of these rules, taking away or confiscating the phone is probably the worst option. even though I understand where they're going with it, I think it's better give a warning. I'm fine with that.
They'll do that. Yeah.
At that point, you say, hey, listen, guys, there's going to be a fine. Just like we give parking tickets, if you don't have a parking pass, we do this all the time. It's a $25 fine. And I think that way you don't need to take anything away, and you say, boom.
I think it's outside of that, Dave. I think this will require an all hands on deck from parents and reinforcement from the parent. Your kids are going to mirror your reaction to this. If your reaction is, this is the worst thing I've ever heard.
For sure.
I cannot believe I can't text you in the middle of that algebra test. This is terrible. Look at the government trying to put restrictions on free speech between you and your family. If you react like that, your kids will react like that in the classroom. But if you react with, let's give this a chance, let's see how it goes. There is a lot of information out there that grades go up. There's just that study in Norway. Grades go up and there's a lot less bullying. You'll feel better. Let's figure out if this is the right answer for our family by testing it out.
I believe it. Grades go up when the phones go down. We'll turn things over to Maria Chaleos and the KSL News team.